Chapter 902. When the drunken cat Big Sis saw that Yu Yang had completely defeated the Black Flame Lord and dug out the Black Flame Soul Crystal that he had been refining for thousands of years, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She went forward and poked him with her finger. "Why did you say so much to him? Wouldn't it be better to just kill him and take everything from him?" Yu Yang ignited a ball of nirvana flame and purified the Black Flame Soul Crystal. When it was refined from the size of a fist to the size of a finger, he passed it to Drunken Cat and gestured for her to take a look. "If I didn't say anything and just killed this fellow, then the Black Flame Soul Crystal that I dug out would at most be a lesser saint-level soul crystal. It wouldn't be of much use." However, after being provoked by me, he was mentally and physically exhausted and his soul was heavily injured. Even though he was originally connected to the Black Flame Soul Crystal, it still caused a crack in my Ji Zun's willpower. That's why I could easily dig it out without any damage. Look, not only was it not damaged, it was even purified to the saint level. Drunken Cat didn't deny the benefits of doing this. However, she still felt that something was wrong. "Is it really okay to do this?" Yu Yang smiled. "Cat, don't look at it as a human. Just look at it as a beast. That's enough. Killing monsters and obtaining treasures is a natural thing to do. But it's obviously in human form." Drunken Cat didn't disagree with Yu Yang's opinion, but she just couldn't accept it. "Then just treat it as a humanoid monster. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Simba, this fellow's flame body is not bad. I'll give it to you as a reward. Drag it out and have a good meal." Enemies that died in Yu Yang's hands were tragic. They would either become fertilizer or meat. "I think this guy will die with everlasting regret." The drunken cat, Big Sis, muttered to herself. "It's already dead. Why would it care about dying with regrets? Come, let's continue mining. There's so many drops of flame, or we can't waste them. We can't leave a single piece for others." Yu Yang continued to mine as if nothing had happened. Drunken Cat was stunned. This brat was greedy to the point of death. He wouldn't even let go of a small advantage. If it was someone else with his status, doing this kind of thing would simply be beneath their status. Even if he wasn't greedy, he was still extremely generous at times. He gave away tens of thousands of wyverns, just like that, without batting an eyelid. He didn't even care about heaven-ranked beasts. He really was an incomprehensible contradiction. "Oh, by the way, where did the Earth Gui Een fire go?" Drunken Cat suddenly thought of something. "What do you mean you can't see it? I was just bluffing that fellow. Actually, it was just an illusion created by my domain. I have long since collected the real, earthly Gui Een fire. It took me a lot of effort to wrap it up carefully with Nirvana flame and put it into the grimoire world. I almost failed at that time. Now that I think about it, it was really dangerous." Yu Yang replied without raising his head. "Is the earthly Gui Een fire especially hard to collect?" Drunken Cat didn't need to guess to imagine the difficulty. "Nonsense, I spent a whole 10 minutes to collect it." Yu Yang humped proudly. "You collected the fire god soul refining grass and still had the time to collect the earthly Gui Een fire?" Drunken Cat felt that this brat was not kind at all. "You didn't even tell me when you collected the herbs. I was so worried at that time. How long would I take to collect the herbs? 1 minute is enough. The main thing is to collect the earthly Gui Een fire." Yu Yang accidentally revealed a big secret. "What did you say?" Drunken Cat's anger flared up. "You brat, you didn't even say anything when you finished collecting the herbs. I was so scared that I almost lost my life. When I saw the illusion of the Black Flame Lord attacking the earthly Gui Een fire, I even thought it was real. At that time, I hurriedly rushed over, wanting to die together with him." She threw away the pickaxe in her hands and rushed over. She pushed Yu Yang to the ground and sat on his waist. She raised her fist and was about to punch him. "Don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is the devil." Yu Yang hurriedly caught her fist. "I'm not impulsive. I just want to beat you up." Drunken Cat really wanted to use her teeth to bite off a piece of flesh from his body. She wanted him to have a taste of being bullied. "Actually, it's not that I didn't want to wake you up. It's just that you were immersed in your enlightenment at that time and were constantly improving. Of course, I couldn't wake you up from that state." When Yu Yang said this, Drunken Cat remembered that it was really like that. According to what you're saying, I've wrongly blamed you? Drunken Cat felt a little embarrassed that she had wrongly blamed this brat. No, if you want to blame someone, I can only blame myself for not being fast enough. If I could finish in 1 second, then there wouldn't have been such a misunderstanding. It's all my fault. Yu Yang pretended to blame himself. His words were humorous, causing Drunken Cat's embarrassment to subside. She coquettishly rolled her eyes at him and struggled a little. Then why aren't you letting go? I want to get up. Before Yu Yang let go, he carefully asked, Are you really not going to hit me? Drunken Cat snorted unhappily. It's not that boring. Yu Yang asked again, Are you sure? Drunken Cat saw that he was afraid of death and couldn't get angry anymore. She rolled her eyes at him. Coward, I promise I won't hit you. Okay. Yu Yang immediately heaved a sigh of relief and patted his chest. That was close. I thought you were going to use chest tightness to interrogate me. You also know that my willpower is very weak. I can't withstand the torture of chest tightness at all. Torture of chest tightness? Hearing this new term, the veins on Drunken Cat's forehead bulged. She wasn't an idiot. She immediately understood what he meant. However, what was the content behind chest tightness? Drunken Cat immediately raised her fist. Speak. What else are you hiding from me? Yu Yang's reaction was extremely fast. Grabbing her fist, the expression on his face was that of a hero who would rather die than submit for the sake of the revolution. Do you think that I, who is the most secretive person in the entire Tong Tian Tower, would tell you such a shocking secret that you used too much force when you sat down just now, causing your pants to split open and revealing your body? Drunken Cat was stunned after hearing this. She first lowered her head to look at her lower body. Sure enough, the cave door was wide open, and the small grass could be seen clearly. She couldn't help but be dumbfounded on the spot. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Yu Yang was laughing evilly. Anger rose from her heart. In a moment of impulse, she did something that she wouldn't normally do. She pressed her whole body down, using her towering breasts to fiercely press on the laughing little thief's face. Good boy. Aren't you afraid of the chest tightness torture? I'll let you taste the feeling of suffocating in happiness. Who asked you to be lecherous? Who asked you to bully me? Kitty, spare my life. I surrender. I'll really die if I'm suffocated for too long. A certain guy from another world who pretended to struggle but was actually secretly feeling good was screaming. You deserve to die. This was the big-breasted big sister who was already furious and decided to punish him to the end. One day later, Drunken Cat, who had returned to Tian Luo Palace, warned the guy from another world for the 100th time. If you dare to mention it to others, I'll kill you. Yu Yang, who had taken advantage of her, naturally pretended to be an obedient child. He patted his chest and said, Don't you worry. Unless Qian Qian and the others use the same kind of torture, I definitely won't tell anyone. Drunken Cat was already too weak to be angry. All right, getting angry with this kind of pervert was wrong. Hitting him directly was the most practical. Before she could even raise her fist, Princess Sisai and Yu came out to welcome her. Tigress smiled and quietly asked Drunken Cat, That bad guy didn't bully you, right? Drunken Cat almost cried, but she denied it with her mouth. No, he dares, I won't skin him alive. Yu Yang cooperated with her and put on an expression that said, I'm a gentleman. Although everyone didn't believe it. Sister Yu and I are going to bring Bing Air to the ancient forest to absorb the ancient rune's energy tonight. We'll need your help next. Princess Sisai said that she would hand Yu Yang over to her elder cousin to take care of. Drunken Cat couldn't refuse. She wanted to cry, but had no tears. How would she take care of him? He only said it with his mouth. It would be good enough if she didn't let him bully her. All right, I'll definitely look after him. Even if he goes to the heaven realm to purchase ores, I'll still look after him. Drunken Cat sighed as she braced herself and agreed. I'll definitely listen to Leader. Yu Yang acted like he would listen to his wife and follow the party for 50 years. You shut up. Drunken Cat was furious. Although she used the chest tightness torture and let this rascal touch her for a while, it didn't count because she was confused at that time. She hadn't officially agreed yet. It was still too early to talk about his wife now. Elder cousin is mighty. If you marry into the family in the future, your family will definitely be very strict. Princess Sisai clapped her hands and praised. Drunken Cat was so embarrassed that she turned around and left. At night, Drunken Cat tossed and turned, but she couldn't fall asleep. Originally, she thought that Yu Yang would come to attack her at night. If that was really the case, she would punch him into the sky with one punch. At the very least, she would shut him out and shut him out. However, what was strange was that this rascal actually didn't come to disturb her. Qian and the others weren't around, and Her Majesty refused to see him. He had nowhere to go, so why would he obediently go to sleep so early? She really couldn't sleep, so she put on her clothes and went downstairs. She gently pushed the door of Yu Yang's room and found that he wasn't resting on the bed at all. At first, Drunken Cat thought that he had gone somewhere to have fun, but who would have thought that when she turned to the laboratory, she found that the light was on inside. Like a small hill, the flame crystal or was refined in Yu Yang's hands one by one. The smallest became a crystal the size of a bean, and the biggest was only the size of an egg. Similarly, the flame crystal or was piled up like a small hill, and placed on the other side of Yu Yang. There were tens of thousands of them. Others only saw his luck and prestige, but how many people could see his hard work? How many people could truly understand his heart? Drunken Cat's eyes were moist, and her throat seemed to be blocked by something. It was very uncomfortable, and tears silently fell down. Looking at his lonely figure, she quickly wiped away her tears and showed a gentle smile. She stepped forward, and when he was about to move the flame crystal, she took the initiative and handed a piece of to him. She didn't even have time to take a towel, and directly used the sleeve of her pajamas to wipe away the fine beads of sweat on his forehead. You just came back. Don't you want to rest? Yu Yang looked back at her with a strange expression. He clearly saw that she had already fallen asleep. Are you the only one working hard, and you don't want others to help you a little? Drunken Cat couldn't help but do something that she had never thought of doing before, and it was very natural. She leaned down and kissed him lightly on the lips as a reward. But after this kiss, the two of them were instantly stunned. Their eyes met, and they didn't know what to do. Drunken Cat suddenly reacted and turned his head back, not allowing him to look at her, but her face was bursting with shyness. How could this be? This was really dizzying. She actually took the initiative to kiss him, and it was even on the lips. What was worse was that, including the last time he kissed her, and this time, she didn't feel it clearly. This time, she had completely lost her first kiss, but she still didn't feel it clearly. What a failure. Kitty, it was too fast just now. I didn't feel it clearly. A certain guy from another world suggested to officially do it again. If you say another word, I'll kill you. A certain big-breasted big sister was so embarrassed that she weakly and awkwardly rejected this suggestion. Chapter 903. Refining the flame drop was extremely difficult for others. They could not even refine one piece in a month. Refining the flame drop was already the limit of many warriors in the heaven realm. Refining the flame drop into the crystal gold state, and every piece had been purified perfectly. That was an even more impossible task. Of course, for Yu Yang, who had the nirvana flame, this was a piece of cake. In his eyes, the black flame soul crystal that he dug out from the black flame lord's body was the kind of energy crystal that had a strong will and soul imprint. As for the earth Gui Yin flame, which was usually calm and would explode once the balance was broken, it was really difficult to refine. According to Yu Yang's perception of difficulty, refining the flame drop was at most deranked, which was a piece of cake. The difficulty of refining the black flame soul crystal was also not that high. It could barely be considered as deranked. As for the abnormal earth Gui Yin flame, the difficulty of refining it was at least AAA, which was only a little lower than the fire god soul refining grass. The difficulty of refining it was only a little lower. Furthermore, if he couldn't refine the fire god soul refining grass, he could at most fail and try again. It was impossible to absorb and refine the earth Gui Yin flame in the laboratory of Tianluo Palace. Once it exploded, the entire imperial palace would be razed to the ground. Other than the buildings within the protective layer of the mirage, nothing else would be left. It would be completely annihilated. It was Yu Yang's nature to take risks. If it was just a decoration, Yu Yang would not be so troubled. He would only be tempted if it was useful. Drunken Cat suggested to try refining it in the Heaven Stairway's void ruins. It would be destroyed by the Heaven Queen anyway, so it would not hurt if it was destroyed again. Cat, you should stay away. I will be fine even if I fail. Yu Yang tried to persuade her to leave, but Drunken Cat insisted on staying. Her reason was, I want to stay, so you won't fail? That's right, this is an incentive for you. I still remember when I was in the Black Flame Canyon, someone lied to me and said that it would take at least half an hour. In the end, I was scared half to death. I also had to go all out to break through in that kind of tense environment. I'm different from you. I'm very rational. I won't be as brainless as you. I was wrong. I'm an impulsive. Don't misunderstand. What I said just now was a slip of the tongue. No, it wasn't from my heart at all. It was really a slip of the tongue. Since you don't like me, it doesn't matter even if you blow me up. Don't be too tsundere, kitty. After a day, Yang had unfortunately failed 3 times. His entire body was char black, leaving only a row of white teeth and the whites of his eyes. He fell in a Drunken Cat's arms, gasping for breath. Although this was a heaven-sent opportunity, if she could roll around in such a broad chest, how good of a blessing would that be? Unfortunately, he was too tired. He was so tired that the ends of his fingers were cramping. He didn't even have the strength to blink, wasting this excellent opportunity. Every time, it was just a little bit off. Yu Yang was just a little bit away from finding a balance point, but he still failed in the end. Because Drunken Cat was by his side, not only could he not escape, he had to protect her at the first moment. Hence, he was blown up very badly. You're not dead, right? Drunken Cat suddenly asked. Soon, Yu Yang sighed softly. If he could stay in this broad chest forever, even if he really suffocated to death, it would still be a blessing. Drunken Cat carried him up and carried him on her shoulder. She opened a teleportation scroll with one hand and passed through the teleportation gate, returning to the little garden on the first floor. Because all the girls were cultivating in the World Tree, the manor in the little garden had been unoccupied for a long time. Only occasionally, some maids would come to clean the cobwebs and dust, keeping the place clean so that the master could come back to live at any time. She didn't enter the house. Instead, she flew to a lake not too far away. She put Yu Yang into the water. Like a little wife welcoming her husband's return from afar, she diligently cleaned Yu Yang's body. This action made Yu Yang confused. Taking advantage of the time, when he recovered a little strength, he grabbed her slightly trembling hand. Kitty, what are you doing? Drunken Cat lowered her eyes and suppressed her shyness. She humphed in a mosquito-like voice. I know what I want to do. You need help, and I'm the only one who is free right now. So I have to do it. Didn't you say that you weren't ready? Yu Yang said in disbelief. I'm ready now. The Drunken Cat Big Sis suddenly stood up and bravely took off her clothes in front of Yu Yang, revealing her perfect and sexy snow-white body. Seeing Yu Yang's dumbstruck expression, she immediately used her hand to turn his head to the side. You're not allowed to look, otherwise I'll regret it. Kitty, you don't have to do this. Yu Yang's voice suddenly became gentle. We can do that, but we don't have to do it for any reason. You talk too much, I don't even know why. A certain domineering lady suppressed her shyness and corrected his peeking head again. No peeking. Do you really want to do that, Kitty? Then I'll put on my clothes. Don't. When the two of them were hugging each other and lying on the bed, Drunken Cat suddenly said, I don't think we're in a relationship. Isn't this progress too fast? Yu Yang almost died from sweat. Isn't it too late to say these things when we're at the last step? What's done can't be undone. He quickly comforted her. Actually, it's not fast. The fastest way is to do it when we meet. That's fast. Our progress is just right. Moreover, if it doesn't work out, we can still date after marriage. Although Drunken Cat looked calm on the surface, she was actually very excited and nervous. The situation now is like this. You see my body, and I've also seen you. Both of us have more or less understood each other. What do you think we should do next? You're experienced. You tell me how to carry out the plan first, but I'll have the final say and the right to carry it out. If it hurts too much, then the plan will be immediately terminated. You can decide, but you definitely can't carry it out because you don't know anything, Yu Yang suggested. If you wanted to carry it out, I guarantee there won't be any problems. Warning, you only have the right to make suggestions. Otherwise, you'll be severely punished. A certain domineering lady didn't slap a certain guy's wolfish hands away like she usually did. She only warned him with a trembling voice to quickly carry out the plan. There's no need for any bullshit plan to do this. We can do whatever we want. A certain guy expressed that he was very busy and didn't have time to think. Then what should I do? A certain domineering lady panted and asked. Try your chest tightness torture, a certain guy suggested. After about 10 minutes, the beautiful prelude made a certain domineering lady feel that it wasn't as scary as she had imagined. Under her beloved wolfish suggestion, she displayed her best side to him and observed his bad side up close. She even tried to follow his suggestion and kissed him a few times. She could listen to his suggestion and hold back her shyness while holding onto the bad side that burned her heart, but she refused to hold back like other people. She didn't say that the main reason wasn't because she was afraid of getting dirty, but because she was afraid that she would hurt him with her teeth if she wasn't skilled enough or give him the impression that she was an idiot. She was looking forward to it, but also nervous and excited. For the first time, she suggested, although it's quite comfortable like this, you're too tired. It's better to lie down and let me do it. A certain guy held back his laughter and asked, do you know how to do it? Let me do it. This isn't a question of whether I'm tired or not. I don't mind, even if I do my best. Seeing her beloved wolfish contempt, she snorted angrily. Isn't this what we're doing? Although I don't know how to do it, I have a natural female instinct. Can this stump me? Don't move your hands. You're making my whole body weak. Let me take a breather, and then I'll take you down directly. Whose first time will be like this? Today, I'm going to take first place for my sisters. Yu Yang supported her, but he was afraid that she would regret it if she failed. He leaned close to her ear, just like a military advisor giving advice. He suggested, it's not good for me to use my strength from below. It's better for me to be on top. You could just lie down and enjoy it. This angle should be about the same. No, why isn't something right? Don't look, it's making my whole body weak. How about I turn around? This should work. A certain arrogant older sister tried 3 times and failed twice. In the end, she finally succeeded in pushing down her beloved wolfish while crying from the pain. She was in so much pain that she couldn't speak for a minute. When she regained her breath, the first thing she said was, Brat, can't you make it smaller? A certain guy sweated profusely. I only have the ability to become bigger. Sitting like this was not a solution. Thus, a certain older sister with 0 experience shamelessly asked, what do you want to do next? Oh, don't you feel pain? Of course it does. I'm just afraid that you'll get sick. Didn't they say that you'll get sick if you don't move? Who said that? Forget it. I'll go up. Actually, Kitty, there's still a lot for you to learn. Let me teach you slowly. Oh, I see. That's easy. I could do it too. Don't be so fierce like a man-eating tiger. God, I'm dying. Don't be like this. I feel terrible. So you're so fierce. How did Traceless take it? I can't take it anymore. If you do it again, I beg you, let me go up. If you continue like this, I won't be able to take it. Actually, this is just the beginning. It's just a warm-up. This is just the beginning? God, looks like I won't be able to live. I can't take it anymore. Let me rest, otherwise I'll die. My body almost exploded just now. How could your body explode? It might be because you have a particularly sensitive physique. Just now, a certain guy whispered into the older sister's ear some knowledge that could not be learned from books. She was so embarrassed that she hid in his arms, raised her fists, and randomly hit him. She denied it with all her might. No, I don't have that kind of physique. Who said it was uncomfortable? It was uncomfortable. The long night passed, and Drunken Cat, who had been sleeping for a long time, opened her eyes to find that she had fallen asleep in his arms. This guy was really a greedy devil. He could not be satisfied no matter what. She couldn't bear to hit him, so she hesitated for 2 seconds before kissing him with a little hatred. The intense action woke him up, and he grabbed her and kissed her passionately. As drunken cat kissed him, she suddenly pushed Yu Yang away and exclaimed, "It's over. I forgot about the dual cultivation yesterday, but I still remember it from the start. It's all because of you." Yu Yang laughed. "It's okay. I forgot to do it yesterday. I'll just make up for it again." The slightly dazed drunken cat thought for a long time before her brain came around. Now that they were already husband and wife, was there still a need to worry that the dual cultivation would not be enough? She understood and shyly rolled her eyes at him. "You're trying to be naughty, aren't you?" "No, yesterday doesn't count. This time I have to be up there." Chapter 904. By the time Princess Sisai and Yu Yu returned, it was already 5 days later. Yu Yang had already successfully developed the Beast Bracelet and asked for the Flaming Condor, which was originally temporarily under the command of the Reaper Mantis sister, to become the first experimental subject of the Beast Bracelet. Becoming the first experimental subject was quite risky. It might die directly, but the rewards were also great. Yu Yang fused the Earth Gui Yin fire that had been purified by the Nirvana flame and the white Xuanhua sword into the Flaming Condor's body, allowing it to break through from Heaven Stage Level 3 to the peak of Heaven Stage Level 4, infinitely close to Heaven Stage Level 5. At this time, the flames all over his body were calm. When it was not in an official battle, it was almost impossible to feel its heat, but once it was angered, it would be 10,000 times more terrifying than a volcanic eruption. It could be said that the current Flaming Condor had completely integrated and inherited the characteristics of the Earth Gui Yin fire. Because of this, the drunken cat Big Sis gave a name, Iris. This was to commemorate the iris she had planted when she was young. Of course, because the Flaming Condor's flames had turned into an incomparably tranquil purple-blue, from afar, it looked like a cluster of iris flowers were in full bloom. "Is this a beast bracelet made of flame crystal gold?" "Aya, it's quite beautiful." Princess Sisai turned and asked, "Why not use moon gem and make one? Do you think moon gem is a small stone on the side of the road?" Yu Yang was speechless. There was no other way. He didn't know the cost of daily necessities. "Didn't you cheat a lot of good things from the stupid two-headed dragon last time?" Princess Sisai laughed. "For the time being, there is no way to make the best beast bracelet. That will only waste materials. It's better to explore the experience first." Of course, Yu Yang also wanted to use Sun Gem, Moon Gem, and Star Gem to make a superb beast bracelet, but there was still a certain distance between ideal and reality. It was impossible to reach the sky in one step, so he had to settle for the next best thing. It's already not bad. This treasure has already surpassed the gold rank and reached the platinum rank. If we continue to study it, it will reach the saint rank. Yu Yu quickly praised her brother to show her encouragement. In fact, she was right. When Yu Yang succeeded in researching the beast bracelet, His Majesty, who heard the good news, excitedly sent 3 waves of messengers to praise him. Every wave of messengers brought His Majesty's generous congratulations and praise. From this, it could be seen how moved His Majesty was. Although His Majesty still refused to see Yu Yang, he had already made a promise and strongly encouraged Yu Yang. When Yu Yang used the Sun Gem to create a holy ranked beast bracelet, it was said that His Majesty would personally reward him. Yu Yang couldn't wait to reach his goal. Unfortunately, with his current comprehension, he could only create a platinum-ranked flame drop crystal gold beast bracelet at the moment. Needless to say, Fourth Mother was naturally proud of her San'er. At the Yu clan castle, there was a grand celebration. Junwei was sleeping. When he heard this surprising news, he didn't even have time to wear his shoes. He immediately ran out barefooted and got drunk with Elder Yu Hai, the Old Fox, and the others. The Warrior Guild, Mercenary Guild, and Thief Guild, the 3 big guilds, also announced this good news to the world. Although it couldn't be compared to a summoning grimoire, with this kind of beast bracelet, many warriors who didn't have the chance to contract a grimoire would no longer feel despair. Some of the younger generation who had contracted a grimoire but hadn't grown up would also have a safer life. Although the disciples of the Su clan were talented, there were many cases of them losing their lives in training. Especially when the chosen successor died, it would easily cause unrest in the whole clan. Now, this problem that had always been a headache for the various clans was finally solved. The Yu clan's third young master had already announced to the world, in the soaring dragon continent, any disciple who had the potential to become a heaven rank would be given a heaven rank beast of the same attribute to grow up together according to their effort and contribution. Those who had the strength of an earth rank would be given a beast of the same attribute to grow up together with them. In other words, as long as one worked hard enough and had enough potential, no matter if one's status was high or low, one could become an innate heaven rank or even stronger warrior. Jun Wu Yu's Imperial Guard's commander, Thousand Withered Bones Feng Kuang, Eagle I Xiaho Wei Jie, Feng Qi Sha, Yin Pejun, and other well-known warriors brought more than 100 official members of the Dragon Knight Regiment to the Warriors Guild and registered their beast bracelets with different attributes. According to the style and quality, the beast bracelets were divided into 3 grades. The first was the Gold Beast Bracelet, inlaid with energy crystals of Heaven rank level 3 and below. The second was the Mithril Beast Bracelet, inlaid with energy crystals of Earth rank level 5 and above. The third was the Copper Beast Bracelet, inlaid with energy crystals of Earth rank level 5 and below. The members of the Dragon Knight Regiment were required to be able to contract a Mithril Beast Bracelet at the very least, unless they were a freak with an extremely special ability. There are still close to 3,000 spots in the Dragon Knight Regiment and 10,000 spots in the Dragon Blood Guards. Warriors who want to become stronger, what are you waiting for? When the 3 great guilds posted Yu Yang's summons, the blood of the warriors in the world boiled. I must become a Dragon Knight. Who knew how many youths in the world swore like this? The visible wyvern and the visible beast bracelets were placed in front of them. This was an unprecedented opportunity to be publicly distributed to everyone in the world. For warriors who pursued strength all their lives, this was simply a ladder to the heavens. 2 days later, when Yi Yang brought back Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, Shui Tan Lang, and the others were trained like dead dogs from Conqueror City. Even Hui Tai Lang had a large flame crystal beast bracelet on his neck. The beast that he contracted wasn't the most suitable beast, because Hui Tai Lang didn't contract anyone but the giant gold dragon that was determined to become Yu Yang's mount in the future. The unlucky giant gold dragon had been caught by Yu Yang to hold down the fort. Afterwards, he had thrown it to Jun Wu Yu and arranged for it to be used as a model in the Warriors Plaza. He had thought that he would be able to hold out until the clouds parted to see the moon. Who would have thought that Hui Tai Lang would find out about his little scheme and immediately put him in his place, letting him know that not anyone could casually become his master's mount. Although Yu Yang didn't use Hui Tai Lang as his mount, the extremely jealous Hui Tai Lang definitely wouldn't allow any giant gold dragon to touch him. Hence, he immediately contracted this giant gold dragon. Didn't you want to be his master's mount? There's no place for you. Come and be my mount. What else could the giant gold dragon do? This Hui Tai Lang was the most pampered beast. If he was angered, it was possible that he would swallow him whole. In addition, Hui Tai Lang spat out a ball of ancient dragon flame to tempt the giant gold dragon, saying that if you become an obedient little brother, I will protect you. Otherwise, I will turn you into dog food. In the end, the giant gold dragon pinched his nose and accepted it for the sake of the ancient dragon flame. Although the one who contracted him was a dog, this dog was still an awesome world exterminating demon wolf. Even if he couldn't hug his master's thigh, he would still hug his master's beast thigh. Hui Tai Lang, you can't be serious, right? You already have a heaven-ranked beast, but this young master is still empty-handed. Where's the justice in this world? No, I have to act quickly. I have to find a heaven-ranked beauty beast and kill you all. Fatty Hai was so excited that his face was red to the ears, and he was dancing with joy. Quickly pretend that you don't know this fellow. Yi Kong and Shui Tan Lang turned around tacitly. A heaven-ranked beauty beast, right? I didn't expect you to have such a taste. I'll beat him. The wind breath seabird had already evolved to have a human head and a human body. Only her legs were still bird feet, but she had an extra pair of wings on her back. Her strength was also a big step closer to that of a holy beast. Even her speech was incomparably fluent. As for her jealousy, it was even more terrible. Who asked her to be the smartest wind-breath seabird in the world? The pitiful fatty, Hai, was beaten up again. Hui Tai Lang saw the excitement of the fight and felt itchy. He also went up to trample on him. Yi Kong and the others were used to it, so they all pretended not to see it. Even though they had summoning grimoires, they were still shocked by Yu Yang's beast bracelet. What did it mean to have another beast that could communicate directly with the soul? It was equivalent to having another guardian beast. Although the beast contracted by the beast bracelet could not compare to the guardian beast, it was already very close. However, Yang did not let them do it easily. First, he couldn't find a suitable heaven-ranked beast to contract, and second, he wanted them to lead the Dragon Knights in the soaring dragon continent. It won't do without some contribution points. After all, it's called walking out of Tong Tian Tower and training in heaven rank. If you see someone with potential, take the initiative to help them. Do your part as the new generation of Tong Tian Tower's genius young warriors. Besides, training every day is not enough. You have to strike a balance between work and rest. After I challenge the 6th Valley, Demon Valley, I'll bring you to Conqueror City. Yu Yang arranged a mission for Fatty Hai and the others. In fact, Fatty Hai and Yi Kong had not returned for a long time. The families behind them were also anxious to see them. One must know that for such a big event like the establishment of the Dragon Knights, without the participation of the Yu clan's 3rd Young Master's teammates, how would the world see it? Understood. Yi Kong absolutely listened to Yu Yang and never doubted him. Conqueror City, there seems to be a lot of people coming recently. Before Shui Tanlang left, he revealed a piece of news to Yu Yang. Could it be the people from the Central Shrine? It was impossible. The people from the Central Shrine would definitely not be able to infiltrate Conqueror City. Could it be that the snake-haired demon man had discovered his identity? It was also impossible. He had clearly said that he was waiting in Tianhua Region's White River City. Could it be that the poisonous bee, King, Dragon Horse, and Weasel Scythe from the Beast Valley had led their clansmen to join him? Thinking of the snake-haired demon man, Yu Yang suddenly became a little interested. This guy was an official descendant of the 4 great clans. If he was looking for him, it might really be a good thing. At the very least, he could dig out some information from him. Thinking about the Mirror of Pain, a semi-god treasure, could it be related to one of the 6 divine weapons, the Divine Mirror? In a Virgo temple, Anan also obtained the Soul Mirror. Maybe there was some kind of connection between the two. The 6 divine weapons had been lost for too long. He hoped that he could find some useful information on this trip. Thinking of this, Yu Yang immediately ran to find Princess Sisai. Tigress, let's go. We're going to Heaven Realm's White River City for a tour. I'm not going. You go with Sister Yi. Princess Sisai rejected. What a sour taste. Tigress, you're jealous. Yu Yang used his pestering, invincible divine skill. Not at all. I just need time to comprehend the sword. Wait until I completely turn the Prison Emperor Divine Sword into my Divine Sword. I'll accompany you anywhere. Before Princess Sisai could finish speaking, she was already pulled away by Yu Yang. Comprehending the sword, I'm the best at it. Let's study it together. Hey, Xuanyo, you're looking for me? The ancient rune that the storm goddess envoy sensed? Wait, I'll sign up with Tigress. Let's form a team and explore together. Hey, don't make decisions on my behalf. Princess Sisai was furious. Xuanyo, let's go. Yu Yang pretended not to hear her. He only grabbed Tigress's hand and refused to let go. Wasn't it just anger? It would pass in a while. Furthermore, she wasn't really angry. Chapter 905. If Yu Yang did not ask Princess Sisai to go to White River City with him, and Shui Wuxia came to find Yu Yang to search for the ancient runes, he would not bring her along. After all, a world of 2 people was much warmer. But now, he had already invited her. If he left Princess Sisai behind and went with Shui Wuxia, Yu Yang reckoned that Tigress would be so angry that she would not be able to eat or sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Although bringing Princess Sisai, the Rouge Tigress, would not please either of them, Yu Yang still loved Tigress dearly. He would rather be stuck in the middle and be looked down upon than let her suffer any grievances. Hence, he held on to Princess Sisai's small hand and did not let go. All right, I'll go, all right. Princess Sisai was not an idiot. Of course, she could understand Yu Yang's intentions. Tigress is so obedient. Yu Yang was overjoyed when he heard this. He was waiting for this sentence. Third young master's way of picking up girls is really brilliant. I admire you, I admire you. Shui Wuxiao felt a little sour in her heart and could not help but tease him. Yu Yang replied with a mischievous smile, Big brother, I'm just trying to make a living. Please let me live. When it came to being a rascal, who could be compared to the Yu clan's third young master? When he said this, Shui Wuxiao felt as if she had punched cotton. She could only helplessly roll her eyes at him, forgiving his previous protest. On the other side, Princess Sisai looked at Shui Wuxiao apologetically, expressing that she did not have the intention to destroy their world of two people, but was forcefully pulled out by this brat. Shui Wuxiao smiled indifferently. This was nothing at all. If she did not want to drag Princess Sisai along with her, she would not have waited for him to find Princess Sisai before intercepting him halfway. It would be better to let Tigress tag along. Only with competition would there be progress. Fallen flowers, traceless, and Inan were no match for her. The one who could really compete with her was Tigress, who had the 6 records talent. Tong Tian Tower 10th floor. Shui Wuxia led the way to a unit world covered in ice and snow. There was no life in the entire unit world, and there was no sign of life. As far as the eye could see, there was only an endless snowfield. All the mountains and rivers were formed by ice. There was no soil, no sand, no rocks, no life. The entire unit world was filled with nothing but ice. This world is very strange. How did you find it? Even the experienced and knowledgeable Yu Yang had never seen such a strange world of ice and snow. In the past, no matter how cold it was, there would still be life. However, there was not a single life in this place. Even the ice elementals and other elemental life forms that were formed from ice energy did not appear here. It was really unbelievable. It's like this. Night Empress once told me about a book. She said that there were many miscellaneous books in the Innate Alliance. For example, there was a book that introduced strange stories recorded by different explorers from different eras. Coincidentally, Elder Nangong came to the Soaring Dragon Continent a few days ago, so I asked him to bring this book along. I did not go and take the examination for other strange stories, but the description of this world of ice and snow aroused my curiosity. When you and Sister Yi were refining the beast bracelet, I came here alone to investigate and found an indescribable ice energy reaction. After searching for 3 days and 3 nights with the Storm Goddess General, we finally found an anomaly at an iceberg 6,000 kilometers away from here. I suspect that there's an ice-type ancient rune there. Shui Wuxia told her the whole story. With the ice-type ancient rune, I believe that you will be able to level up to the Elder Innate Realm. As for me, I don't know how long that will take. Princess Sisai could not help but sigh. She had the Prison Emperor Divine Sword in her hands, but why couldn't she improve as much as Shui Wuxia? This is just luck. Shui Wuxiao expressed that this had nothing to do with strength. Luck is also a part of strength. Princess Sisai took a deep breath and threw away the knot in her heart. The stronger Shui Wuxiao was, the more she could not admit defeat. Actually, last time, Yu Yang had previously extorted an astonishing white tiger pearl from the Black Flame Lord. At first, he didn't care much about it, but when he was free, he used Nirvana Flame to purify it. Then he used his innate sword chi to activate it and unseal it. He discovered that it was actually a holy ranked white tiger sacred pearl. Yu Yang had the intention to bring Princess Sisai to Heaven Realm White River City, and also to bring her to the world of lovers to cultivate together. However, his plan to find the ancient rune for Shui Wuxia was delayed. Princess Sisai knew that he obtained the fire god's soul, refining grass, earth gui, een fire, and flame drop, Oregon. She even knew that Yu Yang extorted a duo luo pearl necklace. Because she was too surprised by Yu Yang obtaining the fire god soul refining grass, she did not pay attention to the white tiger pearl. At that time, Yu Yang did not realize that the ordinary-looking white tiger pearl was a wholly ranked treasure, so he did not say much. It was not until he had successfully researched the beast bracelet that he discovered its true identity. He had even thought of giving Princess Sisai a surprise. Just as he was about to say the white tiger's sacred pearl, he suddenly felt a wave of energy fluctuation. It seemed that some kind of power had extracted a trace of pure energy from Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai. Among them, Shui Wuxia, who possessed the ice attribute, had the most energy extracted, almost 10% of it. Princess Sisai was second. Due to his special physique, Yu Yang had the least energy extracted, but it was still close to 1,000th. We are 6,000 kilometers away, yet he can still extract our energy. Yu Yang was shocked. I'm afraid this has already surpassed the ordinary power of the law. Princess Sisai also felt that it was inconceivable. If it was said that her energy could be extracted, it would not be strange. But Yu Yang was a ranker who possessed the sovereign's will. When you reach your destination and see it, you will have even more feelings. Shui Wuxia smiled. Then let's go. Yu Yang originally wanted to use the quintet golden puppet mice to explore, but now he felt that something was wrong. It was better not to damage his treasures. He could not bear to summon the quintet golden puppet mice to explore, so he hugged the two girls' slender waists and teleported as fast as he could in the direction Shui Wuxiao pointed. 6,000 kilometers in this kind of flat snowfield with almost no obstacles. Yu Yang only needed 10 minutes of teleportation to reach it. He teleported more than 100 kilometers in one go. After 60 to 70 teleportations, what appeared in front of Yu Yang was a majestic mountain peak that was 10,000 meters high. The mountain peak was sharp like a sword, piercing the sky, as if it wanted to pierce a big hole in the sky. The whole mountain was made of ice and snow, without a grain of sand, soil, grass, or trees. The sky was cold, and there was no wind, but the snowfield on the ground was like a snow wave, producing layer after layer of ripples. The strangest thing was that these ripples flowed towards the ice mountain from all directions, continuously becoming a part of the ice mountain, thickening the ice mountain. When Yu Yang used his Heaven Eyes divine vision to scan the area, he realized that the whole ice world was like this. He discovered that the entire world of ice and snow was like this. All of the cold energy was gathered toward this ice mountain. It was unknown how many millions of years had passed before this ice mountain was formed. Why was there no life? This was because this ice mountain would continuously absorb energy from the outside world. No life could survive here. It was impossible for an ordinary iceberg to be like this. There must be an ancient rune that was exerting its power. Shui Wuxiao's previous judgment was not wrong. Now, the only problem was how to turn this frost-type ancient rune that had existed for tens of millions of years into her own use. This was the hardest part. However, if they succeeded, then Shui Wuxiao would easily break through to Elder Innate Realm, becoming the second person to break through to Elder Innate Realm after Yu Yang. Chi. Princess Sisai took out the Prison Emperor Divine Sword and slashed at the ice mountain with all her might with the support of the four elephants' power. The power of this slash was enough to kill a heaven-ranked warrior in an instant. The sword Chi soared to the sky. The unparalleled power of the sword Chi directly tore the space apart. Even the sky had a crack that could not be seen with the naked eye. Under Yu Yang and Shui Wuxiao's attentive gaze, the Prison Emperor Divine sword Chi heavily slashed on the ice mountain. Boom! The whole ice mountain seemed to be shaking. However, the result made Princess Sisai feel discouraged. Such a powerful slash didn't even leave a scratch on the ice mountain. With her eyesight, she carefully searched the ice wall of the ice mountain and found a scratch that was smaller than a strand of hair. Furthermore, it was slowly recovering. This ice mountain was basically a 10,000-year-old mysterious ice, formed from millions of years of pure energy. It was not an existence that could be shaken by a human. If this goes on, we won't be able to reach the core even after 10,000 years. This was the first time Princess Sisai felt powerless. This ice mountain was too sturdy. Brute force definitely won't work. We need to think of a way. Yu Yang was never a person who used brute force to solve problems. Maybe I could try to sense it with my body. However, I need your Jizun's help. Before Shui Wuxia could finish her words, Yu Yang and Princess Sisai strongly objected. Using one's will to sense the ancient rune was an extremely dangerous method. Let's not talk about whether they could sense it or not. Even if they could sense it, the energy of the ancient rune would treat it as an attack and immediately counterattack. If it was light, they would be injured. If it was heavy, their soul would be annihilated. No, that won't do. Even if you have my will to help, this is still a stupid thing to do. Yu Yang rejected immediately. There must be another way. I'll just give it a try. If it doesn't work, we'll all go back. It would be best if there's an ancient rune, but I won't risk everyone's lives. Shui Wuxia smiled at Yu Yang. She was indeed eager to become an innate elder, but she definitely didn't want Yu Yang to take such a risk for her. If anyone wants to try, it should be me. Yu Yang wouldn't let her take the risk. All of you calm down. This ice mountain won't leave. We'll slowly think of a way. We have all the time in the world. Princess Sisai quickly persuaded. If we can't think of a way, we could discuss it with Night Empress and Jizun. They might have some good suggestions. Sensing is indeed not a good method. The ancient rune is definitely not that easy to sense. Moreover, it is now protected by the entire 10,000 years old mysterious ice mountain. Sit down and think about it. Actually, why don't we try one by one? Or we can use the world to absorb the energy. It will be better than doing it recklessly. At least it can absorb without limit. The last sentence was like a ray of light that directly struck the depths of Yu Yang's mind. Yu Yang's voice trembled. He looked at Princess Sisai and shouted, "Wait, what did you say just now? World? Did you say the world?" Shui Wuxia felt a little strange. It wasn't that she hadn't thought of using the world to absorb it, but it was too slow. She was afraid that it wouldn't work even after 10,000 years. But why was Yu Yang so excited? Could it be that he used this method to think of a suitable countermeasure? She was also excited and couldn't speak. Her small hands tightly grasped Yu Yang's arm. On the other side, Princess Sisai stuttered and replied, I think I said that. Am I right? This method isn't good. It's too slow. I know that. I said that because I had no other way. Why are you looking at me? Am I right? You're absolutely right. Yu Yang hugged Princess Sisai tightly. He patted her back and kissed her excitedly. Tigress, bringing you along was the right thing to do. You inspired me. Yes, it's the last sentence. I'm really too stupid. I always had the best method, but I never used it. I'm really an idiot. Such a good thing, but I've been idle all this time. My God, if I had realized it earlier, I wouldn't be like this now. Ha 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 ha. Luckily, Tigress, you reminded me. I didn't say anything. Princess Sisai was puzzled. Tell me quickly, what is the solution? Shui Wuxia couldn't stay calm anymore. She was already convinced that Yu Yang had really thought of a solution. Moreover, it was really because of Princess Sisai, the Rouge Tigress's unintentional inspiration. What's the best way to use this method? Before that, I still need to ask her. You guys go into the grimoire world first. Wait for me. I'll be very fast. Yu Yang couldn't wait to let little Wenli bring Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai into the grimoire world. He then quickly circled around Ice Mountain, trying to gather as much information as possible. Little Wenli came out and nodded to him to show that she was ready. Yu Yang carried his little darling and said, "Let's go. We're going to see Mother again." Chapter 906. Black Hole Sealed Space. After Fei Wenli heard Yu Yang's description, although she tried her best to suppress it and not show it, her eyes still couldn't help but flash with surprise. Finally, there was a chance to break free from this black hole sealed space and see the light of day again. Maybe this process would still take some time. It wasn't something that could be done in a day. But after all, she had seen the light of hope. For a long time, she didn't speak. She didn't praise Yu Yang's bold and wonderful idea, nor did she say any words of gratitude to him, because she knew that her soul was one with him. No matter how touched her heart was, she didn't need to express it in words. In her heart, he could feel her true feelings, and she could completely read his heart. Queen Vivian, Li opened her arms and hugged Yu Yang tightly. Even little when Li was infected by the atmosphere. She also reached out and hugged Queen Vivian, Li, and Yu Yang, her little face leaning on the two of them happily. This was the first time she had truly revealed a comfortable smile in this dark and sunless black hole-sealed space. If I were a little stronger, I wouldn't need to borrow the strength of others to save you. Yu Yang kissed Fei when Li's cheek apologetically on it. There used to be beads of tears falling, but they were quickly absorbed by the black hole-sealed space and disappeared into nothingness. Yu Yang seemed to want to kiss away the remaining tears, kissing away all the psychological shadows of Queen Vivian, Li being sealed. In fact, Yu Yang most wanted to use his own strength to save this conquering queen. However, the current him was still unable to do this, and could only rely on external forces. What nonsense are you saying? One day, you will surpass me. It's just a matter of time. Queen Vivian, Li, comforted Yu Yang in turn. With her white fingers that were like white orchids, she gently stroked Yu Yang's high-nosed bridge, and with her slightly warm cherry lips, she left a mark on his lips. Do you have any good suggestions? As soon as Yu Yang finished asking, he suddenly felt little Li tugging at him from below. She looked up and waited. He hurriedly bent down and kissed the little darling's forehead. This was to show that he was very fair and would not favor one over the other. Little Li happily rewarded him with 2 loud kisses. Only in front of Fei, Li would she act like a child and like to act coquettishly with Yu Yang. If it was outside, she would be the cold-blooded god of slaughter lowly by his side. Empress Fei, Li laughed. You're going to spoil her rotten. However, she was happy to see this kind of warmth and even joined in. She kissed little Li's eyebrows and forehead like raindrops, making little Li shy, and only then did she stop. After playing around, she regained the aura of a conquering queen. Regarding Yu Yang's question, she thought for a moment. If the situation is really as optimistic as you said, I think I'm not in a hurry to go out. When Yu Yang heard this, he was stunned. What? Little Li was also anxious. Her small hands desperately pulled Fei Li, hoping that she would change her mind. Queen Vivian, Li laughed. I'm trapped in this black hole space and have suffered enough. How can I leave so easily? Perhaps you understand a little. That's right, that's what I think. I want to turn this black hole space into my world. A world that completely belongs to my will. This used to be my prison. If I were to escape from here, I would still need to rely on external forces. I, Fei Li, am determined to conquer the heaven realm's conquering queen. If I were to leave like this, the highest peak of my life would be like this. No, I will never be satisfied with being a conquering queen. I want to be like you, to become a higher existence. I hope that in the future, I can climb to a higher realm with you, explore the limits of the divine sovereign, explore the limits of the martial way. I hope to be like you. One day, I can create the entire world and, at the same time, control everything. This black hole sealed space is my starting point. If I can't even change it, then don't think about anything else. Escaping is no longer my biggest goal. Not only did Fei Li regain her former imposing manner, her beliefs and ideals had also become even higher because of the resonance of Yu Yang's thoughts. I understand, but, of course, Yu Yang understood Queen Vivian Li's ambition, but he still hoped that she could leave as soon as possible. Even if my attempt fails this time, with your advancement, I believe that you will be able to save me soon. Fei Li smiled. Her smile was full of confidence. All right, you've convinced me. Yu Yang was moved by Queen Vivian Li's bold idea. As expected of an existence like the conquering queen, she was even bolder and crazier than him. If it were you, you would do the same. Both of us have the fearlessness of taking risks in our blood. With your support, all right, I've decided to go all out. This time, I won't lose the black hole sealed space. This cage will definitely become a world of ice and snow that I control, my paradise, my home. Queen Vivian Li's eyes flashed with unshakable determination. She clenched her fist and made a vow that only Yu Yang and little Li could hear. 10,000 years ago, when she first stepped into the heaven realm, she had also made the same indestructible vow. After that vow was made, she became the conquering queen that the entire heaven realm trembled for. In front of the iceberg, when Yu Yang left the black hole sealed space and returned to the outside world, he summoned Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia from the grimoire world and told them everything. So that's how it is. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai were suddenly enlightened. Do you have anything to add? Yu Yang asked the two girls for their opinions. With their meticulous supplementation, it was the foundation for the perfect implementation of the plan. 1. Will you be in danger if you guide the iceberg's energy into the black hole sealed space? Shui Wuxia felt that if she had to risk Yu Yang's life, no matter how precious the ancient runes were inside the iceberg, she would not agree to it. She also believed that Queen Vivian Li would not agree to it. Queen Vivian Li was trapped inside and did not know what was happening outside. She had to ask for clarification on behalf of everyone. When Yu Yang nodded his head seriously and confirmed that there was no danger, Shui Wuxia finally heaved a sigh of relief. She asked the second question, 2. Do you only need to work hard by yourself? Or do you need everyone to cooperate with you? The two of you are enough. I don't want too many people to know about this matter. Yu Yang did not want to alarm the people of the soaring dragon continent. He did not even want Fourth Mother to worry about him. 3. The time estimation. If it takes too long, I suggest that we put aside temporarily. Shui Wuxia looked at Yu Yang. I can't predict this, because I can't imagine how the black hole sealed space will absorb energy. Maybe it will take a second, maybe it will take a year. I can't tell. Yu Yang shook his head. He could not come up with a standard answer for this estimation. Let me try. Princess Sisai, who was standing at the side without saying a word, volunteered. She, who had the 6 records inherent skill, not only had her 5 senses sharp, she also had the strongest 6th sense among all the girls in the world. Although she rarely used her 6th sense, especially on Yu Yang, she was more willing to be a tigress who stared at him angrily. However, that didn't mean that her 6th sense had weakened in the slightest. On the contrary, under the world tree, she, who had reached the peaking god realm together with Yu Yang, improved her 6th sense the most. In a situation where she was clueless about something, her intuition, her 6th sense, was more accurate than anything else. Today, this was the first time she had solemnly sensed Yu Yang. In order to increase the power, Princess Sisai forgot everything and kissed Yu Yang. She borrowed his energy in the realm of spiritual fusion to carry out the strongest premonition, a knot that connected their hearts like sword chi. A long dance, a wonderful interweaving of all kinds of mysterious patterns. When Princess Sisai opened her eyes and withdrew her consciousness from the 6th sense, she did not say anything. Instead, she was stunned for a few seconds. Tigress, what's wrong? Yu Yang gave her a fright. Previously, when they were in the spiritual premonition, she refused to let herself resonate with him. Instead, she tried hard to sense him alone. Could it be that this matter would cause her harm? That did not seem very possible, right? I'm fine. I feel that the iceberg will crack, and Xuanyo will also benefit. Things will go beyond our imagination, but I seem to cry. Is it because I'm excited? Forget it. We are not in danger. This must be a good thing. Princess Sisai told the truth. She did not hide anything from Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia. Yu Yang and Shui Wuxia looked at each other in confusion. The iceberg cracked, and the mission was beyond imagination. What did this have to do with her crying? Moreover, Qian was very strong. She rarely cried, right? Let's take a break first. When we are in a better state, we will sense again. Yu Yang felt sorry for Tigress. He did not want her to be sad, so he decided to handle it carefully. Anyway, this matter could not be rushed. It was better to put aside first. Perhaps, after resting, there would be more and clearer senses. Shui Wuxia also opened her book of truth, but she found nothing. It seemed that Qian's 6th sense was really needed for the supernatural premonition. Facing the iceberg, Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai forcibly suppressed the excitement in their hearts. Under its feet, they set up a small tent and lay side by side. They held each other's hands and quietly communicated with their energy. At the same time, They also quietly sensed, hoping that when the spiritual light appeared again, they would be able to successfully capture it. It was not until the gradually darkening night that Yu Yang was the first to break free from that kind of sensing. In the grimoire world, Xiaonu had already prepared dinner for Yu Yang and the two mistresses, as well as hot water for a bath. She could not help Yu Yang in battle, but in life, she took care of him meticulously. She tried her best not to let him be distracted in these aspects. After returning to the grimoire world, Yu Yang put aside all his previous concerns. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai also nodded to him, fully supporting his next plan. The three of them had a full meal. Then they soaked in a comfortable hot bath. Both their mood and physical state had been adjusted to their best state. The two women behind Yu Yang looked at each other and smiled. One on each side, they chased after him and held his big hands. To guide the energy of this world of ice into the black hole-sealed space might be an arduous project that was difficult to ascend to the heavens, but they had already decided to help him complete it. No matter what their sixth sense told them, they would do their best to cooperate with him to complete this unprecedented feat. As for the ancient runes, that was no longer the first goal. We will succeed. Yu Yang sensed the hearts of the two women. He raised his hands high, cheering for them, and at the same time, cheering for himself. Definitely. The two women were infected by his emotions. They nodded firmly and echoed in unison. This was Yu Yang's first time challenging the black hole sealed space. What would happen? Chapter 907. Yu Yang knew how terrifying the black hole seal was, but he didn't expect it to be this terrifying. Shui Wuxia and Princess Qin Xian were also shocked by what they saw. With the creation domain as the guide and the summoning grimoire as the foundation, Yu Yang had originally thought of using the world as a supplement. However, he never expected that the entire space would collapse just as he used the power of the small rule to guide out the black hole space. The iceberg that Princess Sisai couldn't even leave a mark on, with the Prison Emperor Divine Sword's full-strength attack instantly disappeared within the range of the black hole seal that Yu Yang had guided out. It was like a piece of cake being bitten off fiercely. Fortunately, the black hole seal only appeared within the range of Yu Yang's domain and did not go out of his control. Moreover, once Yu Yang's power of the small rule disappeared, the entrance of the black hole seal would immediately disappear. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai, who were standing 1,000 meters away, were so scared that their faces turned pale. Even though Yu Yang stopped the power of the small rule and the black hole seal disappeared, their hands couldn't stop trembling immediately. It's too scary. Princess Sisai, who was not afraid of anything but Yu Yang's shameless behavior, was so scared that tears flowed down her face. When Yu Yang walked over, she hugged him tightly, as if Yu Yang would be swallowed by the black hole space if she let go, as she always stayed in such a scary space. Shui Wuxia felt that Queen Vivian Li was really an unimaginable strong woman. If it was someone else, they would have stayed in the black hole seal all the time. Even if they didn't die, they would have gone crazy long ago. Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia only relaxed after checking that Yu Yang was safe and sound. Although they were scared half to death, they finally came to a conclusion. That was, Yu Yang's idea was completely feasible. The only question was, how long could his willpower and energy last? Yu Yang had to remain in the supremacy stage and use the power of minor laws to guide the black hole seal space. In other words, he had to maintain the state of challenging the black hole seal. Although the black hole seal was completely harmless to him, it was still quite difficult for Yu Yang to maintain the supremacy stage for a long period of time while constantly using the power of minor laws. After repeated arguments, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai succeeded in convincing Yu Yang for the first time. They also wanted to stand by Yu Yang's side and lend him a hand. Although Yu Yang was not willing to take the risk, the two women felt that there was no need to think too much about whether the black hole would harm them or not. As long as they and Yu Yang maintained a state of mind and soul fusion and dual cultivation, the black hole seal would definitely feel that the three of them were one and would not harm them, just like it would not harm Yu Yang. The black hole seal was the embodiment of the willpower and divine power of an ancient powerhouse. Although it was extremely powerful, it was ultimately not an intelligent life. It could not think, nor could it modify itself. It only strictly followed the laws set by the will of its master. Even if we are imprisoned, we will only be locked together with Queen Vivian Lee. I'm not worried. Anyway, Her Majesty Queen Vivian Lee will be out soon. Princess Sisai said it generously, but when it came to actions, she was a little shy. She looked at Shui Wuxia, then looked at Yu Yang, blushed, and turned behind him. She was afraid that when she hugged Yu Yang, she would touch something bad. If that happened, she would lose control of her mind and withdraw from the soul resonance of dual cultivation. Although no one will come, we still have to be careful. Shui Wuxia summoned the Storm Goddess General and asked her to come out and protect them. Princess Sisai was at the back, hugging Yu Yang's waist. Shui Wuxia was at the front, her face pressed against his, her delicate body in his arms, her arms around his neck, and their lips touched. Quickly, they entered the best state of dual cultivation. Slightly slower than her, Princess Qian, who was a little shy, also immersed her mind in this state of dual cultivation, sublimated. Although it was rare for 3 people to cultivate together, it had happened before. Not only with Shui Wuxia, but also with Princess Sisai, Fallen Flowers, and Traceless. They had tried it before, so it was a walk in the park for them. Of course, because the 3 people's souls were intertwined, it was equivalent to the 3 of them being naked, without any barriers. Some secrets in their hearts might not be kept, and some awkwardness was inevitable. Shui Wuxia was focused on cultivation. Her mind was very calm. To Princess Sisai, this Xuanyo was already the best. If she were to cultivate with Sky Law, Aquamarine, and the others, they might start to have feelings for each other as they cultivated. Then, they might as well take it a step further and strengthen their communication. Their minds and bodies would advance, reaching the level of husband and wife dual cultivation. That would be the real awkwardness. Princess Sisai felt that Yu Yang had already begun to gather the power of the minor nomological laws. She quickly put away her distracting thoughts. The black hole sealed space appeared again. Under the guidance of Yu Yang's will, the minor nomological laws in the world creation domain kept changing into different shapes. The black hole seal also kept swallowing in different shapes, not allowing the minor nomological laws to have any chance of escaping. The minor nomological laws being swallowed by the black hole seal was not the goal. The various shapes of the world creation domain within 100 meters and the various changes of the black hole seal were the effects that Yu Yang wanted the most. The ice mountain that could not be cut by swords instantly disappeared as the domain changed. Wherever the power of the black hole passed through, the ice mountain would instantly disappear. The ice mountain had been compressed for tens of thousands of years. Even the smallest piece of ice contained a huge amount of energy. If it burst out, it would be enough to destroy an entire city. However, even though it was a 100-meter-long block of ice, it was like a clay ox entering the sea under the devouring of the black hole seal. 10 minutes passed. When Yu Yang and the 2 girls stopped to rest, the 3 of them were shocked to discover how terrifying their results were. The iceberg that was more than 1,000 meters tall had been swallowed up. The black hole that looked like a black hole still showed no signs of being filled up. Sometimes, it really gave people the illusion that it could never be filled and that any energy that entered it would disappear forever. However, Yu Yang's rationality told him that the black hole seal space could definitely be filled with energy. It was just a matter of how much. Perhaps it would not even need to fill up the entire iceberg with ice energy. Perhaps it would not even fill up 1% of the entire unit world's ice energy. All these possibilities came down to how powerful the powerhouse who sealed Queen Vivian Lee was. The more powerful that senior was, the more energy the black hole seal would need. Master, you've worked hard. Drink some water. Mistresses, drink some water and rest for a while. Returning to the grimoire world, Xianu hurriedly fed water to Yu Yang, who was sweating profusely from overexertion of spirit and energy. We can't go on like this. Princess Sisai felt that 10 minutes was the limit. However, the 1,000-meter iceberg was not even 1/10,000th of the entire iceberg, and the amount of energy needed for the black hole space was even more unimaginable. She felt that this model was right, but to find a better way, they had to increase their efficiency. Let's take turns. If it's possible, I think we should try to collect the cold energy outside first. Shui Wuxia suggested a losing control idea. You mean to deliberately let the black hole space go beyond the control of the creation domain? Yu Yang seemed to have a flash of inspiration. That's right. You could try this when we rest. Anyway, there's no life in this unit world. Even if it's destroyed, there's nothing to be afraid of. Shui Wuxia's idea was also made after careful consideration. Then let's make the best use of our time to adjust. Yu Yang was extremely tired. He fell asleep as soon as he closed his eyes. Xiaonu, who was massaging him, watched with reddened eyes and almost teared up. An hour later, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai were almost done resting. However, Yu Yang had not woken up yet. There was no problem with his physical strength. It was just that he had been overusing the power of the small laws previously, and his overdrawn spirit had not been fully adjusted to its best state. Although she saw Shui Wuxia and the others walking over, Xiaonu, who was guarding by the bed, could not bear to wake up Yu Yang immediately. In her heart, it was her duty to let him sleep for even a second more. Seeing Xiaonu like this, Shui Wuxia sighed slightly. How could she not feel sorry for this bad guy? However, if she did not wake him up on time, he would definitely be angry when he woke up on his own. Why don't you let me do some of my best too? This sentence was said by Pandora, who had just woken up from her deep sleep in Xiaonu's body. But it seems a little cold outside. The latter sentence was said by the shy Xiaonu. Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai blushed when they heard it. They both understood what Pandora meant. She wanted to use the mode of husband and wife dual cultivation to help Yu Yang. With her, the former goddess of misfortune, whether it was Yu Yang's spirit recovery or the control of the power of the laws, it would be greatly improved. It seems that I have never done it in a world of ice and snow before. Xiaonu, let's try it. It must be very exciting. Pandora was excited. She took the initiative to move her body and wanted to hug Yu Yang's body with her hands. However, Xiaonu was a little resistant. This is not very good, right? Let master and mistress rest for a while. She resisted and tried not to move her hands. At the same time, she peeked at Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai with her big watery eyes to see if they would agree. Princess Sisai coughed and turned her head as if she did not see anything. Shui Wuxia knew that Xiaonu was very obedient. If she did not agree, she would feel uneasy even if Pandora controlled her body to do it. Thus, she smiled and nodded to her. Xiaonu bowed to Shui Wuxia as if she had been pardoned. Then, she covered her blushing face with her hands. This was her last natural reaction. Later, she let go of her mind and control of her body. She let Pandora drive her hands to carry Yu Yang out. Xiaonu naturally wanted to lend a helping hand to her master. Seeing his exhausted look, she felt extremely heartache. Now that she got Shui Wuxia's consent, she was of course shy and touched. She carried Yu Yang and quickly left the grimoire world. This boy is really lucky. Princess Sisai could not help but feel a little jealous. I agree. Shui Wuxia rarely agreed with Tigress's words. But today, she felt that Tigress was right. The two ladies were preparing to go back to their rooms to rest and adjust their condition. All of a sudden, they saw Xiaonu running back with her naked body. Her huge, snow-white breasts swaying in the air caused Princess Qian Qian and the others, who were women, to involuntarily cry out in surprise. Xiaonu did not realize this at all. She was so excited that her face was flushed. Mistresses Pandora said that the ice mountain seems to have a god's martial soul that has lost its consciousness. Idiot, we can come back and tell them after we're done. There's no need to be so impatient. Pandora sighed helplessly when she said the last sentence. When Xiaonu finally reacted and realized that she was completely naked, she immediately screamed. She was so scared that she ran out of the room. She tripped and fell outside the door. She was afraid that Shui Wuxia and the other ladies would come to help her. She endured the pain and climbed up. It's not painful. Mistresses, I'm leaving. Ah, master is still sleeping outside, without anyone to take care of him. Xiaonu deserves to die. Shui Wuxiao and Princess Sisai looked at each other. They shook their heads and laughed. With such a cute little maid, sometimes it was really hard to be angry. Chapter 908. 3 days later. 1/10 of the towering iceberg had been devoured by the black hole seal space. It looked a little like a ferocious, prehistoric monster with its mouth wide open. The huge ice wall allowed Yu Yang to open up a 10,000-meter-long ice crystal tunnel that extended to the center of the iceberg. The black hole space was still as terrifying as ever, as if it could never be filled. When Yu Yang entered the black hole space, he found that there had been earth-shaking changes inside. There was melting 10,000-year-old mysterious ice floating everywhere. Without Queen Vivian Li's will, these 10,000-year-old mysterious ice would probably disappear completely in less than a minute. However, under Queen Vivian Li's will, even a small piece the size of a finger would take several minutes or even tens of minutes to completely melt, let alone the 100-meter-tall ice peaks. Turning the black hole space into her world of ice and snow was the wish that Queen Vivian Li had previously vowed. With Yu Yang's help from the outside, she had plenty of time and energy to receive the 10,000-year-old mysterious ice that had yet to melt. She would break away from the control of the ancient runes and turn them into her own ice energy. The more energy the black hole seal space devoured from Queen Vivian Li's will, the more she would assimilate. Previously, Queen Vivian Li's energy had been completely devoured by it. Now, with Yu Yang's continuous supply of 10,000-year-old mysterious eyes from the outside, Queen Vivian Li was gradually determined to challenge the black hole space's sealing power. A martial soul that has lost its divine sense. After listening to Yu Yang's description of the situation, Queen Vivian Li also felt that it was a little strange. Apart from the gods' ruins, I've never heard of any other place where gods have been buried. Moreover, even if the godhood disappears, the divine sense of the gods will not disappear easily. This situation is just the opposite. I'm also confused. Pandora is very sure. Yu Yang also suspected this, but he still believed in Pandora's judgment. After all, she was the former goddess of misfortune. In this case, you have to be careful and pay attention to the counterattack of the hidden divine sense, Queen Vivian Li warned. If that's the case, I can use it to test my sword. Yu Yang had already advanced to the sovereign realm. The power of the three swords, Gui Tsang, Shuanghua, and Shaolin had greatly increased. In addition to the world extermination, eternal double wheel, and even the flames of nirvana, Yu Yang was confident that he was not afraid of any hidden divine sense. Once they lost their divine bodies, no matter how powerful they were, they would not be able to regain their original power. You look more confident than before. Queen Vivian Li praised Yu Yang. Right now, Yu Yang had two plans. When Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai worked together as lovers, he would use the creation domain to guide the devouring of the black hole seal space. This method was controlled by Yu Yang's will, but the range was not large. At most, he could absorb the ice wall within a kilometer at a time, and it was already very tiring. The second plan was when Xiaonu cooperated with Yu Yang to carry out the husband and wife dual cultivation, Pandora, who was in her body, would use her divine sense to guide it. Although her divine body and godhood no longer existed, her purified misfortune divine power and divine sense still had boundless power. This point could be expanded 1,000 times in Yu Yang's body. At this time, Yu Yang used the lost control method suggested by Shui Wuxia. It was to guide the black hole seal space to expand as much as possible, the bigger the better. Then, Yu Yang gave up control and let the black hole seal space disappear from this unit world on its own. The result of this was that not only did the black hole devour the surrounding ice and snow energy, but also directly tore the space apart and engulfed it. If Yu Yang did not escape fast enough, it was very easy for him to be affected by the shattering of the space the moment he left. Fortunately, the most terrifying power of the black hole seal would not hurt Yu Yang. Otherwise, this plan would be completely unfeasible. Moreover, there was a drawback to this plan. Because the speed at which the black hole disappeared was too fast, it could not completely engulf the iceberg that was condensed from tens of thousands of years of cold energy, and the effect of destroying the iceberg was not good. However, this method of losing control was unimaginable for the ice and snow on the ground to be attracted. Yu Yang had once teleported out to an open area. He carried out this plan. As a result, the ice and snow energy within a radius of tens of kilometers was instantly devoured. Even the space was torn to pieces, and it could not be repaired for a long time. 10 days later, everything was safe and sound. On this day, Yu Yang, who had just finished his work, had just teleported back with Xiao Nu from afar. Suddenly, he saw that the storm goddess general was fighting with someone at the foot of the iceberg. Princess Sisai shouted continuously. The prison emperor divine, sword chi pointed straight to the sky. What's going on? Yu Yang saw that Shui Wuxiao was heavily injured and had fallen to the ground. Fresh blood flowed out and stained her cherry lips. His heart ached when he saw this. He took a step forward and hugged the trembling Shui Niu tightly in his arms. As soon as he hugged her, Yu Yang was shocked to find that her body was as cold as a 10,000-year-old ice. At the same time, he realized that this kind of cold energy was not the energy that her body had lost control of. It was a strange cold energy that invaded her body. Who was it that could sneak an attack on Shui Wuxia, who had the divine sense domain? Yu Yang raised his head angrily and looked at the battlefield where the fierce battle was going on. He realized that a golden figure that was sealed in the iceberg was using ice as a weapon to attack Princess Sisai through the iceberg. He also created ice chains, intending to bind the storm goddess general tightly. The iceberg at this time was not the same as before. It was unknown when a strange power of the ancient code had appeared inside and outside of it, as if it was protecting its existence. Was there really someone sealed in this iceberg? Strange. How did he hide from his heaven eyes divine vision and Shui Wuxia's book of truth? Princess Sisai, who had the strongest sixth sense, and even Pandora, who had the ability to predict death, couldn't see through his existence. Who was this guy? Countless questions flashed through Yu Yang's mind, but he didn't have time to think. Shui Wuxia's injuries had already ignited his anger. No matter who the other party was, whether he was a god or a human, as long as he dared to hurt his woman, he would kill him without mercy. Kill! He Gui Song by Shuanghua and Qi Xiaolian attacked at the same time. Yu Yang, who was seething with anger, instantly fell into a berserk state under the stimulation of his beloved woman's injuries. He soared into the sky, passed by the equally furious Princess Sisai, passed by the storm goddess general who was fighting to protect her master, and completely ignored the tens of thousands of ice chains that the other party shot towards him. He raised the knight immortal sword and slashed down, forcefully cutting off the tens of thousands of ice chains that were shaped like a torrent, creating another opening. Separated by an unknown thickness of ice wall, the red-eyed Yu Yang let out a violent roar. The Gui Song sword that carried the will of the Jizun broke through the wall and entered. Princess Sisai, who was behind him, was dumbfounded. One must know that before this, no matter how much she used the prison emperor divine sword to cut, she couldn't even make a small hole in the 10,000-year-old ice wall. But now, Yu Yang, because of his anger, had actually shattered the ice wall with a single slash, causing at least 1,000 meters of collapse and a few dozen meters of explosion. This was not the end. The berserk Yu Yang completely lost his previous rationality. He did not consider anything at all, did not care how many tens of thousands of meters thick the ice wall was, and did not know how deep the opponent was hiding in the ice wall. Instead, he was completely controlled by his anger and continued to unleash the third slash. Bai Shuanghua. If he used Bai Shuanghua to attack kind-hearted women like Lu Yi, Yu Yu, and Fourth Mother, then the Bai Shuanghua sword would be powerless. It might even help them recover to their peak state in an instant. However, if it was used to attack evil and filthy demons, then Bai Shuanghua would be the most powerful existence in the world. Nothing could compare to it. Yu Yang's right hand pierced into the shattered ice wall. The Bai Shuanghua sword was not like the black Gui Tsang sword, which only attacked the surface layer of ice. It was also not affected by the refraction of the ice crystals, and even ignored the influence of the hidden power of the ancient code. It directly pierced through the wall like a light sword, without a sound or presence, and pierced into the golden figure inside the ice layer. The golden figure paused for a moment, then suddenly disappeared, as if it had never appeared before and no longer existed. Shui Wuxiao was heavily injured and unconscious. Yu Yang could not find the enemy for a while, so he used the Gui Tsang and Xiao Lian sword to slash wildly, breaking many layers of ice. In the end, he returned with hatred. Strange, she's fine, but some kind of power is fusing with her. Princess Sisai was already holding Shui Wuxia at this time. She checked on her body's condition, but found that her injuries were not caused by a sneak attack. Yu Yang broke out from his berserk state and felt waves of fatigue. He almost sat down on the snow. He endured the fatigue and took over Shui Wuxia. When he forced the pure, innate sword qi in her body, he found that her injuries had already recovered. If not for the bloodstains on her cherry lips, it was as if she had never been injured. Most importantly, Yu Yang also found the same situation. There was some kind of energy fusing with Shui Wuxia's body, and this energy was actually the same as her extreme cold power. Pandora, can you see anything? Yu Yang found that his Heaven Eyes divine vision could not be used for the first time, so he could only pin his hopes on Pandora. Maybe I was wrong before, and there's not only one god sealed in the ice mountain. Maybe there are two gods sealed inside, and one has already been beaten to the point of dissipating by the other, but the divinity and last wishes are still suppressing the other. Pandora and Xiaonu's body could not figure out the truth and could only make a half guess. What should I do now to kill the remaining god? Yu Yang only wanted to find the answer. It did not matter if he was a human or a god. As long as he dared to hurt his woman, he would die. Pandora was a little hesitant and shook her head. I can't see through it either. Maybe this is a good thing. Although I can only give people bad luck, I also have a strong sense of good luck. Yu Yang was about to faint. Xuanyo being injured by the enemy was a good thing? If it was not for Pandora, the former goddess of misfortune, saying this, Yu Yang would have thought that she was crazy. The enemy was hiding. Even if they wanted to kill him, they could not find him. Yu Yang had no choice but to bring Shui Wuxia back to the grimoire world, but this way, the energy that was obviously beneficial to Shui Wuxia would be cut off. After discussing with Princess Sisai, Yu Yang had no choice but to bring Shui Wuxia out again, but he tried to stay as far away from the ice mountain as possible so that the golden shadow that was trapped inside would not have a chance to attack. After a day and a night of waiting, Shui Wuxia's long eyelashes trembled a few times. She finally woke up. Before Shui Wuxia could fully open her eyes, she screamed, "Don't hit him! Don't hit him! Don't hit him!" Yu Yang's heart ached as he hugged her tightly. "Don't be afraid. I'm here. No one will hurt you anymore, Xuanyo. Don't be afraid." When Shui Wuxia was fully awake and saw that the person in front of her was Yu Yang, she suddenly laughed. Her laughter made Yu Yang and Princess Sisai confused. Did this Xuanyo become stupid? Why was she laughing after being ambushed? It was really confusing. "Don't worry, I'm not stupid. My head is not broken either." Shui Wuxia hugged Yu Yang's neck and tried to suppress her excitement. She smiled at the startled Yu Yang and Princess Sisai. "Actually, there was no one who ambushed me. That's right, I found the enemy, but he was not the one who injured me." "Wait a minute. Let me explain. It's actually very simple. I sensed the seal. The enemy wanted to lure me to attack the seal, but I had already sensed another type of divine power, so I retracted my attack. In other words, I was injured because of the recoil of my telekinesis. Don't attack the enemy. Otherwise, that guy will take the opportunity to escape." "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Yu Yang sweated profusely. He had even broken a large part of the ice mountain. Chapter 909. But your body is constantly being fused with energy. What's going on? Princess Sisai still had doubts in her heart. There's indeed an ancient rune in the ice mountain. It has the same attribute as me. It is calling for me. Shui Wuxia raised her hand slightly. Yu Yang and Princess Sisai could see that the ice energy, which could not be controlled by any will, was gradually gathering in her palm. Although it was very slight, it could be said that Shui Wuxia already had the qualifications to control the ice energy in this world. As long as she completely fused with the ancient rune in the depths of the ice mountain, she would be able to achieve great success. At that time, she would be able to control the whole unit world. Yu Yang was happy at first, but then he became worried. According to the current situation, he was 80% sure that the ancient rune was the basic existence to seal the enemy. Without it, the strong enemy would break out of the ice. Princess Sisai looked at Shui Wuxia to see if she had any ideas. Shui Wuxia, who understood their thoughts, smiled and shook her head. Although the ancient rune is good, I will not fuse with it if it does not have a 100% chance of winning. I have fused with the ancient rune, so I need at least a period of time to upgrade it. If that is the case, it will not be of help to the overall situation. I will not ask you to risk your lives for my own needs. Moreover, releasing such a strong enemy in the ice mountain is not a good thing for the whole Tong Tian Tower. Yu Yang objected. We definitely need the ancient rune, but we have to think of a way to get it. Far away, it seemed to be transmitted from the unseen world. A voice full of divine power resounded in the minds of Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai. It was silent, but it was like a thunderclap exploding in their ears. If it was not for Yu Yang, who had the will of a supreme martial artist, and if it was an ordinary person, even if they did not die, they would be so scared that their souls would leave their bodies and kneel down to worship the gods. A clear and dignified voice that couldn't be questioned resounded. Even if you want to refuse, how can you refuse the bestowment of me? Chi Tiana, pitiful ants like you will never understand what a human is and what a god is. Don't think that just because you raised the sword in your hand and broke 1 or 2 pieces of ice, you can jump out of this pitiful realm of mortals. Lowly lives, you will forever be frogs at the bottom of a well. Yu Yang was furious. He had seen many arrogant people like Shun Tian, Scarlet Emperor, Black Hell King, Thousand Goblin King, Ancient Demon King, Empress of Heaven, Jiu Shao, and Void. Although these rankers were also very arrogant, they were definitely not as arrogant as this guy today. This fellow was even more arrogant than Jiwori. It could be said that there was no limit to his arrogance. Gods were only seen in the eyes of ordinary people. No matter how powerful a god was, he was only a ranker who had reached a certain realm. A divine sovereign could possess a godhead, an existence that surpassed the existence of domains and had boundless power. However, no matter how powerful a god was, no matter how powerful a godhead was, there was still a limit. Did he really think that he was the omnipotent lord of the world? Compared to those ancient gods who could easily create or destroy worlds in ancient times, a god who had just stepped into the divine sovereign realm was nothing. Those who could destroy the whole world with a raise of their hands and create the whole world with a raise of their hands were the true almighty beings. This fellow who had been sealed in this ice mountain for God knows how many years was really a joke. He actually dared to be so arrogant. When Yu Yang thought of this, he became even more furious. Don't be angry. This is a kind of mental disturbance. It is meant to provoke you. Promise me, no matter what happens, don't lose your mind. Only by keeping a clear mind will you not make any mistakes. Shui Wuxia was the most sensitive to mental attacks. Some mental attacks were like needles that prick people. Some were not. They were like a flood that drowned people. And some are silent. They could make people lose their minds and become a captive. Don't worry, I won't be angry. I will just treat his nonsense as a lowly dog's fart. Yu Yang nodded and promised Shui Wuxia. In fact, he felt that if he was really angry and went berserk, that fellow would be even more unlucky. Because when he went berserk, the terrifying power that he could unleash was not something that he could unleash normally. Of course, Shui Wuxia might have warned Yu Yang like that, because she had some kind of premonition, or maybe it was some kind of divine inspiration. The ice mountain now was filled with different types of divine power. There was the power of the divine fire that was about to erupt, the extreme cold divine power that could freeze everything, the sealing divine power that was as strict as a castle, and there was even a divine power that Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai could not figure out what it was. These divine powers were all suppressing each other, but they were also restraining each other, forming a strange yet strange balance. There was clearly no divine power at the beginning. Why did so many divine powers suddenly appear? Could it be because I used the black hole to seal the space and break the ice mountain? Yang thought to himself. While he was secretly on guard with Princess Sisai, Shui Wuxia Storm Goddess was also guarding the side, just in case something unexpected happened. Rumble. At the broken ice wall, there was suddenly a huge explosion. Thousands of pieces of ice flew into the sky, and a divine light, like lightning, went straight towards Yu Yang. Yu Yang had already condensed Gui Tsang and Shuanghua. When he saw the enemy sneak attack, he immediately used Shuanghua to meet the attack. Gui Tsang was ready, waiting for the enemy's next move. However, what made Yu Yang incomparably surprised was that the Shuanghua sword had no power to harm that divine light, and that divine light also seemed to be completely harmless. Under the support of the Shuanghua sword, it became even stronger and more wonderful. Because of Shuanghua's attack, the divine light slightly stagnated. It drew an arc, brushed past Yu Yang's left side, and shot towards Princess Sisai. Princess Sisai blocked it with the Prison Emperor divine sword. The divine light was blocked by the divine sword and was reflected towards Shui Wuxia. Finally, it hit the Book of Truth and was reflected between Shui Wuxia's eyebrows. Yu Yang's eyes widened. If he knew it would be like this, he would have just let the divine light hit him. Who knew that when he fought back, he would harm Shui Wuxia instead? Don't be afraid, I'm fine. Shui Wuxia spoke at the first moment, indicating to Yu Yang not to be afraid. You're really fine? You scare me to death. Princess Sisai was also very guilty. If she knew that the divine light would hit between Shui Wuxia's eyebrows, she would definitely not block it with her sword. Ants, everything is as I expected. That arrogant voice laughed out loud. You mortals with your intelligence, how could you think that the divine light was not an offensive divine light, but a kind of divine sense guidance? That bitch Yulan, in order to prevent me from escaping, she actually dispersed her own divine sense. But how could she think that after tens of thousands of years, there would still be 3 fools like you who broke the 10,000-year-old ice wall and woke me up from my slumber? What makes people feel that fate has arranged the most is that there is actually a descendant of that bitch Yulan, the descendant who is most suitable to inherit her power. You ants, other than lamenting fate, what else can you do? Yulan dispersed her own divine sense, without the divine light to guide. It's all right. I will help her guide with my divine sense. When that ant girl inherits Yulan's divinity, it will be the time when the seal is lifted, and also the time when all of you will die. Fate, you are so wonderful. I like you so much. Go. Yu Yang heard that something was wrong. Of the 36 stratagems, escape was the best. But it was already too late to leave now. The entire iceberg was trembling. Shui Wuxia, who was stunned, looked at Yu Yang without blinking. Countless ice and snow energy quickly gathered around her body. On the other side of the iceberg, countless specks of divine light, bright like a galaxy, slowly floated over. Inheriting the divine power of the predecessor and effortlessly obtaining the divinity. This was originally a great thing, but this divine power just happened to seal a strong enemy. Once it was integrated into Shui Wuxia's body, it meant that the seal was lifted, which meant that the strong enemy from tens of thousands of years ago was about to be born. Yu Yang clenched his teeth, turned to face Princess Sisai, looked in her eyes, gave her a deep hug, and kissed her cherry lips hard. Then, he let go of her hands. Tigress, you go first. Go tell Night Empress and Ji Zun that we want to help. Princess Sisai was usually very strong and never cried, but now her tears flowed down. Don't chase me away. I know, once I leave, I won't be able to see you again. Although I usually like to fight with you, but I just want to act coquettishly. Let me stay. If we could be together, it doesn't matter, even if I die. If you ask me to leave, there's no meaning in me living on. Yu Yang's voice was incomparably gentle. Usually he would yell at her, but now he was unusually patient and gently persuaded. Don't cry. Nothing will happen to me. Xuanyo will also be fine. Even if the opponent is a broken god, I can still defeat him. I am born to defy the heavens. Nothing can stop me. Princess Sisai heard, and cried even harder. Since you can defy the heavens, then why do you still want to chase me away? Let me accompany you. If you can defy the heavens, I will accompany you to defy the heavens. If you fail, I will also accompany you. Yu Yang held her little face and wiped away the tears for her over and over again. Shui Wuxia, who was beside him, was already speechless, holding the book of truth in her hand. Half of her body was already covered in ice and snow, and more divine power light spots, as vast as the Milky Way, floated over. Some of them merged into the book of truth, and the majority of them merged into her body. The iceberg in the distance shook violently. The ice peak that pointed straight to the sky gradually began to crack, as if it was going to break from the middle. Inside the layer of ice, countless light spots of divine power formed an image that was thousands of meters tall, and it slowly floated out, completely without any divine consciousness. Just a female godhead that was not controlled by any consciousness, and it looked somewhat similar to Shui Wuxia, but it was shining with divine light, and its power was unparalleled. When the female godhead left and floated towards Shui Wuxia, the entire iceberg shook even more violently, as if something was struggling to get out. This is a bit too much, but I'm not afraid at all. Come on. No way. Do you think I will tell you that challenging fate and defying the heavens is what I like? Yu Yang, who was supposed to be very anxious because he could not persuade Princess Sisai to leave, suddenly smiled, and his face flashed with unparalleled boldness and confidence. There seemed to be divine light shooting out from his eyes. It made him look like a god from the legends. Or, in other words, this was the real him. When Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia looked at Yu Yang from behind, they had an illusion that the female godhead that was thousands of meters tall and even the iceberg that was tens of thousands of meters tall were under his feet. Chapter 9:10. Countless rays of divine light shrouded Shui Wuxia, who was floating in midair. Shui Wuxia was already in a semi-conscious state. Her mind was filled with all kinds of information about the godly state contained in the divine light, causing her to have a splitting headache. She could not afford to be distracted at all. Princess Sisai was blasted thousands of meters away by the supreme energy of the godly state. She could not get close to Shui Wuxia at all. Moreover, she was most worried about Yu Yang, not Xuanyo, who was merging with an unknown godhead. The ground shook violently, as if there was an earthquake. The iceberg collapsed completely. The broken tip of the iceberg rumbled as it broke off. It was as if there was an invisible demon hand controlling it, causing it to tilt and turn sideways. The gigantic tip of the iceberg pierced towards Yu Yang, who was on the ground. Falling from a height of 10,000 meters, coupled with the strange manipulation of power, even an innate martial artist would be smashed into pieces if he was hit by the tip of the iceberg. Yu Yang was not an ordinary innate martial artist. He was an innate martial artist, one who surpassed everything and reached the most perfect state. He raised the crescent moon sword and unleashed the first slash, earth-splitting slash. The heaven and earth-splitting saber and sword Qi perfectly split the tip of a huge iceberg into two. The two halves were exactly the same. It was 100 times more accurate than when a craftsman measured it with a ruler. The tip of the iceberg was cut in half, but it did not slow down. It fell like a meteorite, and a huge gap gradually opened up in the middle. It was 100 meters wide and could easily accommodate Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai. The iceberg pierced deep into the ground, and the explosion of the impact swept across the land. The entire snowfield was like a hurricane passing through the ocean. Billions of ice and snow were splashed up, forming a terrifying snowstorm. The ice on the ground also spread out like waves under the impact of the impact. It spread for dozens of kilometers before it gradually calmed down. Princess Sisai, who was holding a sword and standing between the two cracked ice peaks, was safe and sound because of the protection of Yu Yang's creation domain. Even the deafening impact and sonic booms did not affect her at all. It was as if she was listening from 100 miles away. Although it was clear, she was not harmed. Looking at the spectacular scene, Princess Sisai was both shocked by the enemy's powerful control and gratified by Yu Yang's mysterious solution. Only he could receive it so easily. If it was him, if he didn't retreat, wouldn't he be in a very difficult situation? In the sky, a sharp piece of broken ice fell towards Shui Wuxia, who was floating in the air. Even though she was protected by divine power and no attack could hurt her, this was still a provocation. A mocking smile appeared on Yu Yang's face. He didn't even need to use his crescent moon sword. With a flick of his finger, the sharp piece of ice in the sky was completely shattered. It exploded into snowflakes and scattered in the wind. This kind of childish provocation was obviously not an attack from the enemy. It was not even a test. At most, it was a small disturbance to delay time. Yu Yang knew what this meant. He also knew that the enemy was struggling in the seal, trying to break free, but he did not attack. Not only him, Princess Sisai also did not attack. She, who was holding the prison emperor divine sword, followed behind Yu Yang, silently guarding his back so that he could fight with peace of mind. Do you think that by delaying time, you can let that ant girl absorb divine power? Ha ha ha, naive. Without a few months' time, with her strength, don't even think about fusing with divine power that has an independent godhead. A voice that sounded like that of a god resounded with incomparable majesty. I want to say, whether you're called Qi Tianhe or He Qianxi, you really talk a lot of nonsense. Yu Yang replied, That's right. No matter what you say, we will not attack. Don't even think about using our strength to break free from the seal. Princess Sisai laughed coldly as she retorted, this is really too funny. Ha ha, that's right, I am still in the seal, but this is because my divine power is too strong and I can't pull it out immediately. It's not that I can't come out immediately. For ants like you, I can easily kill you with just a finger. That kind of difficulty isn't much more difficult than crushing an ant to death. That arrogant Qi Tianhe laughed loudly. Is that so? Then let's try it. Yu Yang shrugged his shoulders. Not only did he not care about that Qi Tianhe, he even kept the broken ice peak into his grimoire world as if there was no one else around. If it was still on the ice mountain and was protected by the law of the seal, then Yu Yang would not be able to keep the ice on the ice mountain into his grimoire world. He could only forcefully swallow it with his black hole domain. However, it was different now. The broken ice peak had already fallen to the ground and was no longer restricted by any law. Although Yu Yang had to conserve energy to deal with enemies who could break free from the seal at any time, and was unable to use the power of the small law to guide the black hole domain to swallow it, it was completely possible for him to keep the broken ice peak into his grimoire world. This did not require any effort from him. Yu Yang's action of ignoring him had probably completely angered the other party. There was a moment of silence. When he had accumulated enough energy, the golden figure inside the ice mountain appeared again. With a rumble, the side of the ice mountain that was destroyed by Yu Yang exploded into millions of ice shards. Millions of ice shards exploded into the air, forming a dense rain of ice shards that fell down like a cannonball. Azure Dragon. Princess Sisai did not need Yu Yang to make a move. She leapt forward. The image of the Azure Dragon flashed above her head. The sword Qi was like a dragon. It spun mysteriously in the air. It was different from the previous Azure Dragon lightning, not that bound the enemy. This was a more brilliant and ingenious spinning attack. The lightning produced by the sword Qi was like a Azure Dragon. It glided through the millions of ice shards in the sky, causing them to spin like a top and fall to the ground as light as a feather. When they fell to the ice surface, they only spun on the smooth ice surface and did not damage the ground at all. If a warrior below heaven ranks saw this kind of control, they would probably be scared out of their wits. Even a warrior above heaven rank would be dumbfounded if they saw this. At least in the heaven realm, many king-level 5 heaven rank warriors might not be able to do this. It was easy to break these ice shards. Even if there were twice as many of them, it would not be a problem. But like Princess Sisai, not a single one of them was broken. They all spun and fell to the ground like feathers. That was too difficult. Moreover, Princess Sisai used sword chi and lightning to do this. This was even more difficult and became an inconceivable miracle. TSK, you dare to show off such insignificant skills. Qi Tianhe, who was sealed in the ice mountain, was extremely disdainful. Although he had to admit in his heart that when he was at the same realm as Princess Sisai, it was impossible for him to do this. However, the current him had already surpassed his previous self by 1,000 times. Looking back, he felt that he was omnipotent and did not need to care about the tricks of ants. No matter how strong a person was, he was still just a mortal. He, who was sealed in the ice mountain and could not escape for the time being, split out a golden shadow as a clone. The 100-meter-long golden shadow drilled out of the ice mountain with some difficulty. Because it was afraid of disturbing the power of the seal, it was actually very careful when it drilled out. It tried its best to follow the ice tunnel that Yu Yang had created previously. Yu Yang did not stop it. He only curled his lips. What a big golden mouse! Princess Sisai, who was holding the divine sword with a solemn and nervous expression, could not help but burst into laughter. If one did not look at its shape, just by looking at the cautious manner in which it drilled out of the ice tunnel, it really did look like a mouse drilled out of a hole. It was a far cry from a deity descending from the sky and displaying his divine might. Of course, when the golden shadow drilled out of the ice mountain completely and left the range of the seal, it immediately recovered its arrogance and haughtiness. It unleashed its full power, and its whole body flickered with divine light. In particular, the top of its head was like the sun, and it shone with a radiance that made it difficult for people to look directly at it. Perhaps it had heard Yu Yang's mockery, but the golden shadow's clone glared angrily at Yu Yang. It extended its palm forward. The golden palm shone. The 5 huge and golden fingers slowly closed together. Within 100 meters around Yu Yang and Princess Sisai, there were 5 terrifying forces that quickly closed together. The ice on the ground seemed to have been plowed up by a bulldozer, piling up and quickly compressing towards the space around Yu Yang's body. The ice on the ground was also pulled and smashed towards Yu Yang like meteors. In the air, a giant hand made of ice even appeared and fiercely squeezed towards Yu Yang and Princess Sisai's body. Break! Princess Sisai waved the Prison Emperor Divine Sword with both of her hands and slashed out a sharp sword chi, directly cutting off the 5 fingers that were made of ice. Rumble! The ice hand that had its fingers cut off was still gathered together, but the 5 fingers fell down. It did not manage to kill Yu Yang as it had hoped. Princess Sisai's sword attack had not finished. She flipped in the air and half knelt on the ice. She turned the divine sword around and stabbed it into the ground. The power of the divine sword quickly expanded in the layer of ice under her feet, forming a soundless shock wave. The killing force that was gathering on the ground was like a soap bubble meeting a sharp needle. It was instantly destroyed. It disappeared into nothingness. Even the 5 fingers of the golden shadow, Qi Tianhe's energy clone, furrowed its brows as it looked at its own fingers. Although it did not break, the counterattack power of Princess Sisai's divine sword had already cut off its 5 fingers. This was the power of Princess Sisai's white tiger holy power. It was soundless, yet could kill people without leaving a trace. If you think that you could be proud of yourself after breaking my casual claw, then you are gravely mistaken. The golden shadow flickered with extremely dazzling divine light. Its entire body was like a blazing sun. A kind of divine fire that was close to the power of the earth Gui-in fire erupted from the bottom of the golden shadow's feet. It was different from the earth Gui-in fire. This kind of unknown divine fire burned endlessly and surged crazily. There was no possibility of it being peaceful. Accompanying its birth was an incomparably powerful golden thunderbolt that crackled and exploded. When Yu Yang saw this kind of divine fire, he secretly compared it to the earth Gui-in fire. He was not alarmed. Instead, he was delighted. It seemed that he had suddenly understood something. Not only him, but even Princess Sisai also nodded to herself. It seemed that she had understood something. The golden shadow quickly turned into a flaming giant that was surging with divine fire. It burned fiercely. The cold ice on the ground was dispersed and incinerated by the fire energy. It retreated far away like a receding tide. An empty circle of 1,000 meters was formed around the golden shadow's body. The golden palm that had injured Princess Sisai's fingers had long since been healed by the divine fire. Moreover, divine fire was surging endlessly from the center of the palm. It was like a volcanic eruption. Actually, my true divine power is not frost at all. On the contrary, my divine power is flames. Under my scarlet sky, divine fire, there is nothing in this world that cannot be destroyed. My willpower can burn everything in this world. Pitiful ants, accept the punishment of my scarlet sky, divine fire. Ha ha ha! In front of God, your struggles are meaningless. Other than lamenting, there is no need for you to make any other sound. The golden shadow raised his hand. The divine fire erupted, and terrifying, raging flames soared into the sky. Yu Yang was speechless. Although he was also an expert in playing with fire, and even possessed the nirvana flame that could burn everything in this world, he did not mind letting his enemy be arrogant for a while. After all, a boss that was killed was usually very arrogant before its death, wasn't it? Chapter 9:11. Weep and tremble, ants. The golden figure arrogantly raised both of his hands up high and propped them against the sky. Soon after, he pressed them down again and hit the ground heavily. Hundreds of thousands of raging flames spurted out from the icy ground. Among them, the two largest flames appeared under Yu Yang and Princess Sisai's feet. Yu Yang's reaction was extremely fast. The instant the flames erupted under his feet, he flipped his body and somersaulted in the air, easily dodging the impact of the flames. On the other hand, Princess Qian was different. Her speed was even faster than Yu Yang's. Unknowingly, a pair of vermilion bird flame wings had already appeared on her back. At the same time, when the jet flame impact disappeared, her real body had already appeared behind the golden shadow. The prison emperor divine sword slashed down. Its power was enough to tear the heavens and split the earth. But that slash that could easily kill a heaven-rang powerhouse was blocked by a single finger of that golden figure covered in god fire. The golden silhouette, Qi Tianhe, raised a finger, and with a hint of arrogance that seemed to look down on all living things in the world, he casually blocked Princess Qian's sword, which she had attacked with all her might, above her head. Those who look down on the gods will be punished by the gods. Qi Tianhe raised his golden eyes and glared angrily at Princess Sisai, who had counterattacked. Princess Sisai's expression changed greatly. Her body seemed to have been hit by some kind of invisible force. She fell towards the broken iceberg like a meteor. With a rumble, she smashed into the hard ice wall. She was in so much pain that her whole body was trembling. Fortunately, the prison emperor divine sword had blocked most of the force. Otherwise, she would have fainted on the spot. The might of a single glare was already so terrifying. However, Qi Tianhe's face was filled with arrogance. He even snorted disdainfully, "Insignificant little worm." Slap! Just as he finished saying this, Qi Tianhe's face suffered a slap. Even though this slap to the face wasn't heavy, it was still sufficiently humiliating. This was especially so for a prideful god like Qi Tianhe. It was an unimaginable humiliation. Even though it was an energy clone, it was still an unforgettable humiliation for a human to slap to the face. When Qi Tianhe slowly turned his head around, he discovered that Yu Yang was standing in front of him with an extremely annoying smile on his face. What drove Qi Tianhe crazy the most was that Yu Yang even said without the slightest sense of blasphemy, "Such a big face, it feels really good to hit it." Die. Qi Tianhe's anger had reached its limit. The divine flame erupted. Raging flames soared into the sky. In a thousandth of a second, the golden energy doppelganger clasped its palms together like it was swatting a mosquito, wanting to flatten Yu Yang alive. Yu Yang's afterimage disappeared, and he fell to the ground like a meteor. Even though the 100-meter-tall golden energy doppelganger was strong, it was still a little slow compared to him. Qi Tianhe's hands couldn't hit Yu Yang, so he immediately raised his huge feet and stomped down fiercely. The huge shockwave caused the layers of ice within 10,000 meters to shatter and melt. Yu Yang, who was hiding in midair, also seemed to have fainted from the shockwave. The huge hands that were burning with raging flames slapped down heavily. Boom! Yu Yang's entire body was smashed by the huge hands that were burning with divine flames, sinking at least 100 meters deep into the ground. A huge burning handprint appeared on the frozen ground where the layers of ice had melted. It was deep, and the raging flames burned the frozen ground that had been frozen for 10,000 years black. Qi Tianhe controlled the energy doppelganger and used its huge feet to stomp heavily on the edge of the handprint. The divine flame on its body fluctuated, and finally, it followed the stomp's momentum and penetrated into the ground. When the foot was raised, the divine flame's energy, which had been suppressed to the limit, immediately detonated. The energy underground couldn't bear it anymore, and it completely erupted, turning into a volcanic crater that spewed flames into the sky. A charred humanoid figure immediately shot out of the ground and into the sky, bringing with it an endless amount of molten lava and a charred humanoid figure. Mortals that infuriate the gods must die under the divine punishment. Qi Tianhe controlled the golden energy doppelganger and clenched its fist. In the sky, the lava and the divine flame's energy immediately condensed to the limit. They formed into a ball. When they reached the point where they couldn't bear it anymore, they exploded with a bang, turning into millions of sparks that rained down on the entire sky. Qi Tianhe sensed that the life form that had rushed out had already been completely annihilated. Only then did the fury in its heart subside a little. Originally, it had wanted to continue tormenting it for a little longer. Unfortunately, its opponent was too weak. After all, it was just a mortal that was as small as an insect. When the golden energy doppelganger turned around and continued to kill Princess Sisai, it was astonished to discover that the ant that should have died just now was actually still alive. Not only was he still alive, he was even roasting chicken wings. Student Yu Yang held a fork in one hand as he roasted chicken wings at the edge of the divine flame. At the same time, he swayed his head and sang, "Little chicken wings, my favorite food." His appearance was as annoying as it could get. When Qi Tianhe saw this, he simply wanted to spit out a mouthful of blood and spit this brat to death. "Give me a bite." Princess Sisai moved closer to him. Now, she knew how to cooperate with him. What's the hurry? There's still a big monster that hasn't exploded yet. Before Yu Yang could finish speaking, a giant golden hand had already smashed down from the sky. Qi Tianhe chased after Yu Yang and Princess Sisai, furiously smashing and smashing them. The surrounding ground was destroyed beyond recognition, but he couldn't do anything to the two of them. As if they had figured out their opponent's strength, Princess Sisai and Yu Yang didn't fight him head-on. Instead, they switched to a guerrilla warfare strategy, and the results were pretty good. Qi Tianhe was extremely angry, but the two of them acted as if nothing had happened. They even ate a honey-sauce chicken wing between them. However, not much time had passed. The golden energy doppelganger suddenly stopped moving. Yu Yang and Princess Sisai looked at each other and quietly moved forward. First, Yu Yang used the crescent moon blade to poke the golden energy doppelganger's anus. When he realized that the doppelganger really couldn't move, he was overjoyed. He gestured to Princess Sisai to take out her divine sword and slash at the doppelganger. I'll slash, I'll slash, I'll slash. Princess Sisai slashed at the doppelganger's head. Unfortunately, even though she had the divine sword in her hand, Chi Tian's golden energy doppelganger was too tanky. It couldn't deal much damage to the doppelganger at all. It could only forcefully slash away some of the scarlet sky divine fire that was burning outside its body. When Yu Yang saw this, he was extremely angry. Are you an idiot? Why are you slashing this monster's face? It doesn't care about its face at all. Cut off its fingers or its toes. Hearing Yu Yang's criticism, Princess Sisai defended herself with a little grievance. How would I know that its skin is so thick? She used the 4 elephants' power to support her with all her strength. The Prison Emperor Divine Sword and Yu Yang's Crescent Moon Blade worked together. After spending a lot of effort, she finally managed to cut off the end of one of the golden energy doppelganger's fingers. Yu Yang didn't care about the divine fire that was burning him and kept it happily. In the second after he kept the finger, the entire golden energy doppelganger dissipated and turned into countless golden light spots. Like a flood, they flowed into the ice wall passage and returned to Chi Tian's body. The ice mountain that was originally split apart collapsed even more violently. The entire ice mountain started to shake, and huge ice peaks that were the size of small hills continuously tumbled down. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Princess Sisai used her divine sword to split apart the descending ice peaks. On the other hand, Yu Yang was on the ground, quietly using his grimoire world to store the ice and snow. It was as if he wanted to store the entire ice mountain inside. If Chi Tianhe had been paying attention, he would have realized that no matter if Yu Yang was fighting or escaping, he would never forget to store the ice pieces that fell from the ice mountain into his grimoire world. You 2 hateful ants, it's time for you to die. A deafening roar erupted from within the ice mountain. It was as if thunder had exploded. Thousands of ice shards were sent flying into the air, forming a hail of ice bullets that fell around Yu Yang and Princess Sisai. At this moment, a huge crack appeared on the ice mountain. A man that was as dazzling as the sun was struggling with all his might, as if he wanted to break free from the seal at the innermost part of the ice mountain. It was unknown what kind of runes the seal was made of, but it was still deep within the ice layer. There were only countless rays of light that wrapped around Chi Tianhe like a cocoon. After Chi Tianhe received the energy from the golden energy clone, his power instantly increased greatly. The radiance on his body became 10 times brighter than before. Within the cocoon of light, he struggled with all his might to free one of his arms. Of course, he only managed to free one arm. You guys are really born fools. If you guys were a little braver and offered sacrifices to the seal, I wouldn't have been able to break free within 10,000 years. However, not only did you guys destroy the ice mountain and draw away the blue divine spark, you guys even shrunk your heads like a turtle when I feigned an attack to stall for time. You guys didn't even dare to come forward and touch me. It's because of your stupidity that I, Chi Tianhe, can see the light of day again. All right, to repay your stupidity and cowardice, I've decided to grant you guys death. Chi Tianhe, who had already broken free with one arm, laughed grimly. If his previous arrogance was due to looking down on the world, then his current arrogance was due to the success of his scheme. Don't talk nonsense. You want to stall for time, but so do we. Don't think that you're very smart. If you're so smart, how can other people live? Actually, come to think of it, those gorillas that learn to carry boxes and eat bananas from high places, when they smile, they look exactly the same as you. Gorillas, you have to learn how to walk upright first. Playing with intelligence is still a little too difficult for you, who hasn't evolved completely. Yu Yang lectured the other party in a deadpan manner. Princess Sisai tried to hold back her laughter, but failed. As Yu Yang lectured the other party, his hands weren't busy at all. He carried Shui Wuxia, whose body had almost fused with the divine light, but was already in a deep sleep, and handed her over to Princess Sisai. He indicated for them to retreat a little so that he could properly display his skills. Princess Sisai only had time to say, "Be careful," before she was sent 1,000 meters away by Yu Yang's palm wind. As she carried Shui Wuxia and ran away, Yu Yang pounced towards Qi Tianhe, who had already broken free with one arm. His crescent moon slashed down with the power to destroy heaven and earth. In the same second, Qi Tianhe's arm extended infinitely. His finger was like a divine weapon. It pierced towards Yu Yang's heart. Hiss. 5 bloody wounds appeared on Yu Yang's chest, and fresh blood spurted out. Yu Yang, who had brushed past Qi Tianhe's finger, frantically rushed over. Qi Tianhe first coiled his arm into a snake shield, blocking in front of his body. Then he extended his 5 fingers and chased after Yu Yang's back. He even used his arm and wrist to create a circle in the sky, forming an inescapable battle net. The instant Qi Tianhe's fingertip pierced Yu Yang's back, the power of the blade that was slashing down suddenly disappeared without a trace. It was as if there had never been a person called Yu Yang. He plunged into the seal. It didn't seem like he was attacking Qi Tianhe, but more like he was throwing his life away. What was this brat trying to do? Qi Tianhe was stunned. To be honest, he wasn't afraid of being hit at all, because even if he only had one arm left, it was impossible for this brat to defeat him. In fact, if he attacked even more fiercely, the faster the seal would be undone, and the more intense the fight would be, and the more satisfying it would be. However, this brat didn't fight at all. Instead, he plunged into the seal. What was he trying to do? Chapter 9:12. Yu Yang had entered the sealed space more than once. In fact, there was no sealed space more terrifying than the black hole sealed space where Queen Vivian resided. Other than the black hole, Yu Yang had also specially researched the evil dragon lair where the Scarlet Emperor resided, the Blood Lake torture chamber where Wu Su resided, the Black Tower where the Peerless Emperor resided in the water world on the first level of the Heaven Stairway, the Fire and Hourglass world where True Lord Lai Hua and the beautiful Silk Fairy resided in the ancient seal of the Buried Sword Valley. In the end, he came to a conclusion. Any seal would be restricted by the rules of a specific attribute under certain conditions. For example, there was a possibility that someone would foolishly run into the sealed space without violating the rules. Then, even if he stayed in the sealed space, he would be absolutely safe. From ancient times until now, no one had ever done this before. Even if they knew about this secret, no one would rush into the sealed space for no reason, because that was a really risky and painful action. The environment here is not bad. Yu Yang did such a foolish thing and ran into the sealed space where Qi Tianhe resided. Why did you come in? Qi Tianhe felt a little dizzy. Was this brat an idiot? This, I can actually explain. Yu Yang didn't struggle at all. He allowed the countless white lights to bind him. Because Yu Yang didn't struggle and symbolically bound his body, not letting him leave, the sealing law's power stopped binding him. Compared to Qi Tianhe, who was struggling with all his might to escape, he was like a mummy. It was a stark contrast. The worst thing was that this brat even took out the honey-sauce chicken wing that he hadn't finished just now and slowly gnawed on it. He ate it so savagely that he almost didn't lick his fingers. Only when Qi Tianhe was so furious that he was about to explode did he slowly raise a finger. Don't be angry. Even if I don't want to go in, I still have to go in. Whether you are willing or not, I reckon that we will have to spend some time together. Don't yell like an idiot. I know, it's not your fault that you look like a gorilla. It's all your genes. All right, I won't say any more, lest you feel too inferior. Speaking of which, I'm obviously not interested in Uranus. Don't worry, my sexual orientation is very normal. Besides, there are so many beauties around me. Where'd I find the time to explode your anus? Look, only a person without quality would say such filthy things like you. Other than proving your incompetence, it doesn't mean anything else. Yu Yang casually threw away the chicken bones. The ribbon of light flashed and quickly tied up the chicken bones. In front of the laws, all objects were treated the same. Taking out a napkin to wipe his mouth, Yu Yang said slowly, "Seeing that you're not so angry anymore, I'll tell you. Actually, I am here to help you. No matter how angry Chi Tianhe was, he couldn't help but be stunned for 3 seconds after hearing these words. Did I hear wrongly? This brat said he was here to help me? Yu Yang casually crumpled the napkin into a ball and took out a toothpick. Just like Brother Ma, he confidently said, "You didn't hear wrongly. I didn't say anything wrong either. I really am here to help you escape from danger." Just now, when you were bragging with all your might, as if you were afraid that everyone wouldn't know that you were impotent, I didn't utter a single word. I gave you a chance to show off. You're angry again, aren't you? You need to be patient. You need to learn to listen. This is a very important step for a gorilla to evolve into a human. Whereas I just now? Ah, that's right. You were provoking me with all your might just now, but I didn't make a move. Wasn't I cooperating with you? If you want to go out, I'm happy to see that. Your actions are very much in line with my intentions. It's as gratifying as the time when I threw a banana to the gorilla in the zoo and it bowed to me. This is a great progress on the long road of evolution. Right? Do you want a banana? Chi Tianhe was so angry that his face was cramping. He flew into a rage. You're courting death. Facing the furious Chi Tianhe, Yu Yang calmly peeled a banana and took a bite. It's really not bad. I can't let the gorilla eat all the bananas. Good things can't be wasted. Roar, roar. Chi Tianhe actually looked quite formidable, but there was a lot of red hair on his face. It was probably similar to the beard of a human male, and it could be considered a symbol of his race to show off. Moreover, after reaching Chi Tianhe's realm, even if his original appearance wasn't good, he could still transform into a dignified one. His appearance didn't need to be said, but Chi Tianhe couldn't help but be furious when Yu Yang insulted him like this. If it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't fight inside the sealed space, and that the more they fought, the tighter the seal would be, Chi Tianhe would have torn this brat to shreds. No one had ever dared to call him a gorilla, and no one had ever dared to ask him if he wanted a banana. What did they take him for? Did they really think that he was a gorilla that was locked in a cage for people to watch? Yu Yang didn't have the self-awareness of angering someone to death. He yawned and closed his eyes as if he had fallen asleep. He waited until Chi Tianhe's angry roars became powerless before he opened his eyes again. He continued his previous words. Just now, you lured us to attack, but we didn't. This is a bit wrong. I express my deepest sympathy and condolences to you. However, we did this out of kindness. We were afraid that we wouldn't be familiar with you and would ruin your escape. Moreover, you weren't very friendly either. You were too pretentious and rejected our warm help. This hurt our young hearts. However, we are magnanimous and won't bicker with you. Who would be angry with a gorilla that hasn't fully evolved? Don't worry, we won't. Chi Tianhe was already powerless to be angry. Right now, he only wanted to know why this brat had barged into this seal. Moreover, he didn't enter earlier or later, but only entered when he was about to break free from the seal. Why did he do this? Perhaps he had seen through Chi Tianhe's thoughts. Yu Yang very straightforwardly gave an answer. If you want to ask, why did I come in? I said it just now. I was kind-hearted, great, and magnanimous. I had decided to do a good deed. You don't know how much courage I needed to do this. I practically overcame my worries that were taller than a mountain. Do you know how difficult it is to do a good deed? When I was young, I had already made up my mind to help an old granny cross the road. Until today, I still don't have the courage to do so. An old granny isn't someone who can be helped just because you want to. All right, actually, you wouldn't understand even if I told you this. With your intelligence, I'll just say it directly. The reason why I came in was to replace you. I want to help you break free from the seal. What? Chi Tianhe was dumbfounded. Impossible. How could this brat be so kind-hearted? See, isn't that right? What did I say just now? With your intelligence, you actually couldn't understand such a simple question. How sad. But forget it. It's already not easy for an orangutan to evolve to your level. Yu Yang had a forgiving look that said, "Don't worry. I'll forgive you. You waited for me to break free from one of my arms before coming in. You wanted me to be stuck in the middle, unable to take care of both ends." Chi Tianhe finally understood what was going on from Yu Yang's roundabout words. In his entire life, he had never seen such a shameless human. Although many human warriors were shameless and unscrupulous. However, Qi Tianhe could say that even if all the humans in Tong Tian Tower were added together, their shamelessness wouldn't even reach 1% of this brat in front of him. This brat didn't have any way to deal with him. However, he pretended to be dead and didn't make a move, allowing Qi Tianhe to break free from one of his arms. When he was stuck in the middle, unable to advance or retreat, Qi Tianhe ran in. At this moment, there should be someone outside attacking from both sides, right? When Qi Tianhe thought of this, he immediately used his divine sense to penetrate the seal. Indeed, the human swordswoman with the divine sword had already run back and was fiercely slashing at his exposed arm. Thinking of this, Qi Tianhe suddenly understood many things. This brat in front of him had always been scheming. Qi Tianhe had wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to scheme against him. Who would have thought that he would actually take advantage of Qi Tianhe's wishes? However, mortals were mortals and gods were gods. Even if mortals had the best schemes, they would never be able to scheme against gods. Ha 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 ha! Qi Tianhe burst into crazed laughter. He laughed to the point where tears almost flew out of his eyes. Yu Yang looked on quietly. It was as if he was looking at a madman. Apart from silent mockery, there seemed to be a faint sympathy in his eyes. After laughing for an unknown amount of time, Qi Tianhe finally stopped laughing. However, he would occasionally recall something and continue to laugh until he was no longer smiling. Only then did he immediately change his expression into one of coldness and arrogance. Pitiful ant. Even if your scheme succeeded, so what? Can you attack me? Can you kill me? If I want to leave, can you stop me? Before I leave the seal, your companions won't be able to harm me. They will only speed up the weakening of the seal. Once I leave the seal, you will be trapped here forever. As for me, I will be able to easily kill your companions and destroy the entire heaven-reaching tower. That's right. You entering here will cause me some trouble. However, this is all you can do. Mortal, you will never be able to make an enemy of gods. Yu Yang used his fingers to dig his ears. He revealed a smile that was extremely annoying. Qi Tianhe, if I'm not wrong, you're actually only a quasi-god. In other words, the highest you can reach is the quasi-divine exalt. I don't know how you cultivated to this level. However, I can be sure that it's because there's a type of God's blood flowing in your body. Moreover, there's a lot of God's blood. That's why you reach this level. However, this is definitely not your true achievement. If you don't have God's blood, you will be nothing. You want to obtain my God's blood? How laughable. Do you think you can harm my God's body? Qi Tianhe faced the sky and laughed loudly. Of course not in the outside world. It's not easy to defeat you. Yu Yang also laughed. However, in this sealed space, I don't need to defeat you at all. I can do it with just a stretch of my hand. Boast. Continue boasting. Qi Tianhe didn't believe him in the slightest. All right, after I fuse with the core ancient runes of the seal, I will prove it. You still have 3 days before you can completely break free from the seal. Before that, enjoy the last of your life. After Yu Yang finished speaking, the eternal wheel appeared beneath his feet. Qi Tianhe's divine flame attack just happened to block the eternal wheel. Moreover, because of Qi Tianhe's energy fluctuations, the power of the seal immediately bound several dozen light ropes. This added a little more resistance to Qi Tianhe's escape. Qi Tianhe didn't care about this little bit of binding. He only wanted to instantly kill that hateful little human bug, Yu Yang. However, he witnessed it with his own eyes. Yu Yang's body slowly passed through the eternal wheel and entered the sealing formation. He disappeared without a trace. He could feel that this brat was still there. Moreover, the eternal wheel was still there. However, it was precisely because of this that he couldn't attack him. Could it be that this brat really wanted to fuse with the core ancient runes of the seal? If he really succeeded, wouldn't he become the prey of the seal? Qi Tianhe suddenly felt a trace of unease in his heart. Moreover, this was the first time that this strange feeling of unease had appeared since he had obtained his god's body. Chapter 9:13. 3 days passed by quickly. To Qi Tianhe, these 3 days were long and fast. He could finally come out after being sealed for several tens of thousands of years. This was undoubtedly a great encouragement to his heart that longed for freedom. However, because of his impatience to break free from the seal and that lad's strange behavior, he felt that time pass like a year. Moreover, what made him feel the most suspicious was that the swordswoman who had been attacking him with her sword outside had also left after that brat disappeared. Such an abnormal action made Qi Tianhe feel that something was wrong. Could it be that he was about to come out, but was he going to fail at the last step? Breaking free from the seal became smoother and smoother. First, it was his arm, then his head. On the second day, it was his body. On the third day, only his right leg was left, and it was still bound by the light band of the seal. He was about to regain his freedom. Qi Tianhe wanted to face the sky and roar several times. Who could understand the feelings of being sealed for several tens of thousands of years and forced to sleep? When my strength is completely restored, the heaven-reaching tower and the gods' ruins will be mine. Although Qi Tianhe had a divine body that was fused with divine blood, the torture of the seal for 10,000 years still left his body in a sluggish state. However, he could use at least 1/10 of his strength, which was much better than other martial artists who had just come out of the seal. They were extremely weak and had less than 1/100th of their strength. Crackle! When his body was bound by the light band and only his right leg was left, Qi Tianhe discovered something strange. At the edge of the eternal wheel, there were strange lightning crackling. At first, it was very soft, but it became louder and louder. It seemed as though something was about to rush out from within. Although he couldn't see it with his eyes, Qi Tianhe could sense that beneath the wheel of eternity, in the core region of the ancient seal, there was an intense movement. It was silently changing. The eternal wheel, which was originally 10 meters in circumference, was also gradually expanding. Not good, could it be that lad? Did that lad really fuse with the ancient runes in the core of the seal? If he really fused with the ancient runes, wouldn't that mean that he would become the master of the ancient seal? Qi Tianhe would officially fall into his hands. No wonder he said that he didn't need to defeat him. He only needed to stretch out his hand to injure him. The eternal wheel continued to expand. Gradually, it extended towards the area where Qi Tianhe was at, and its speed became faster and faster. The thunder and lightning around it were like millions of golden snakes that were on the verge of boiling. Shit! Shit! Qi Tianhe cursed in disgust. Just a little bit more. Only his calf below his right knee had not broken free from the restraints of the seal. If at this critical moment that lad had not successfully fused with the ancient runes at the core of the seal and sealed himself again, then all his efforts would have been in vain. The most troublesome thing for Qi Tianhe was that the wheel of eternity was continuously enlarging. If he fell into the wheel of eternity, everything would stop, and he would become an eternal existence. This meant that he would never be able to escape the next seal. Absolutely not. He absolutely could not let that brat succeed. Now that he was about to regain his freedom, no one could stop him. What an intolerable ant. When you come out, you're dead. However, if you think that you can make me, Qi Tianhe, stay by relying on a little trick, then you're mistaken, gravely mistaken. Qi Tianhe gritted his teeth and raised his right hand, which was flickering with golden light. He used his divine power to condense a divine sword that was 300 zhang long. He gathered the god's blood in his heart and extracted as much energy as he could from the lower part of his right knee. Then he forcefully cut off the part below his right knee. Below his right knee, golden blood oozed out. However, it didn't splatter. The instant it oozed out, it completely condensed. The wound was as smooth as a mirror, and it was as if it had never appeared below his right knee. The sealing band of light firmly sealed his right leg, and even more bands of light extended towards Qi Tianhe, as if they had a mind of their own. Qi Tianhe would be an idiot if he didn't leave at this moment. He didn't have the time to grieve over his severed leg, nor did he have the time to be angry over his severed leg. The instant the bands of light once again coiled around his leg, he soared high into the sky like a golden thunderbolt. Only when he had completely broken free from the seal did the bands of light radiate brilliantly, and he descended like a deity. His eyes revealed a kind of delight, anger, and even a strange radiance that carried an indescribable resentment and unforgettable humiliation. Chi Tianhe descended 10,000 meters away from the ice mountain, far away from the seal. Although he was extremely angry, he still had reason left in him. He wouldn't arrogantly descend onto the collapsed ice mountain, and he wouldn't give the law of seals another chance to seal him. Loathsome ants, it's time to settle old scores with you. You made me, Chi Tianhe, lose one of my divine legs. I don't deny that there was a certain element of craftiness involved in forcing me to this state. However, all of you will stop here. Next, it's time for me to judge all of you. The radiance on his body was 100 times more intense than the sun. He raised his right hand, and it was like the hand of a thunder god. With a mere wave of his hand, the entire enormous ice mountain that had cracked open immediately started to tremble, as if it had been struck by a heavenly deity. From the middle of the mountain to the foot of the mountain, a deep crack that was 1,000 meters long appeared. The splashing of shattered ice and snow simply blotted out the sky. It was even more terrifying than an apocalyptic snowstorm. After a few seconds, a world-shaking, ear-splitting, and deafening sound of an explosion could be heard. Boom! Along with the sound of the explosion, a shock wave rapidly spread outwards at a visible speed. In the end, it swept up the ice and frost on the ground and pushed the earthquake tens of kilometers away with an unstoppable force. Chi Tianhe didn't care about this kind of attack at all. In his eyes, all of this was a matter of course. The only thing he was concerned about was whether or not he would receive a backlash from the seal's power at the core of the ice mountain. The answer was very clear. Although the seal's power was stimulated, it was powerless to spread out of the ice mountain's range. Thus, the band of light couldn't capture Chi Tianhe, who had landed 10,000 meters away. Since the seal can't do anything to me, Chi Tianhe, then, ant, you can die under my all-out attack. Annihilate. This is the only final destination for an ant like you. Ha ha. Chi Tianhe had just been probing Chi Tianhe. After he obtained a clear result, he immediately accumulated power and condensed all the divine power in his body. He condensed close to 100 divine power fireballs in his palms, and then threw them out like raindrops. These attacks all bombarded the core of the ice mountain seal region. His goal was to disturb Yu Yang and kill him within the ancient seal. At the very least, he wanted to strengthen the seal's power and use that kid to replace him, sealing him inside forever. Ancient runes weren't easy to fuse with. During the process of fusion, one couldn't be disturbed by the slightest bit from the outside world. If one suffered an intense disturbance, one's spirit would be injured, and one would be annihilated in a puff of smoke. Chi Tianhe hated Yu Yang to the core. Originally, after he broke free from the seal, he wanted to leave as fast as possible and only come out after he recovered to his peak state. However, because he was forced by Yu Yang to cut off one of his legs and was insulted by Yu Yang as a brainless gorilla, Chi Tianhe really couldn't bear it. Since he possessed a divine body, he would never die and be undefeatable. If he didn't instantly kill that hateful ant, he would find a place to recuperate and recover. He really couldn't swallow this resentment. Even if he wanted to leave, he would first kill that brat before leaving. Boom, 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 boom. The ice mountain that Princess Sisai couldn't even shake with the prison Emperor Divine Sword had now crumbled under Chi Tianhe's all-out attack. Chunks of ice that were as big as a small mountain were sent flying and scattered all over the sky. The dome of the sky had already been covered by a vast expanse of white powder, and the sun couldn't be seen. The ice mountain that was originally 10,000 meters tall had already completely collapsed. Now, the highest point wasn't even 2,000 meters tall. It had completely buried the ice wall passage that Yu Yang had opened up using the black hole seal space devourer. And this is the result of looking down on a god. Chi Tianhe snorted coldly with a bit of disdain. At this moment, let alone the fact that that brat hadn't fused with the ancient runes yet, even if he had succeeded, he wouldn't be able to survive this attack. Moreover, the seal's power would definitely be greatly shaken when it received a divine power attack. The seal's power would explode even more violently. Even if that brat didn't die, he would never be able to come out again. Just when Tianhe turned around and was about to leave, a divine sword slashed down from above. It was Princess Sisai. The timing of her sneak attack was extremely good. However, the current Tianhe wasn't the golden shadow that was separated from his divine power. Moreover, even if it was that golden shadow, with Princess Sisai's current strength, she wouldn't be able to injure it, let alone Tianhe, who had just escaped. Tianhe's eyes were filled with disdain. It was as if he was looking at a little insect that overestimated itself and was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws at him. He raised a finger and casually caught the prison emperor divine sword that Princess Sisai had slashed down with all her strength. Then, with a twist of his finger, Princess Sisai's entire body was like a meteor as she fell into a mountain-sized ice peak. Without waiting for Princess Sisai to struggle out, Tianhe directly extended his right hand towards the huge ice peak. He exerted his 5 fingers and squeezed in front of him. The entire ice peak was immediately compressed and caved in like a piece of dough. It was distorted beyond recognition. An incomparably huge 5-finger indentation appeared in the middle of the ice peak. A divine light flashed in Tianhe's eyes. He tilted his body slightly and dodged the Storm Goddess General's fatal attack from behind. He was a little different from the relaxed way he fought against Princess Sisai. He was finally a little more serious. He didn't use his fingers to block. Instead, his body swayed slightly as he dodged the Storm Goddess General's meteor-like attack. However, Tianhe's attitude was still as arrogant as before. He only dodged and didn't counterattack. Moreover, he didn't even turn around when he dodged. Instead, he kept his back facing his enemy. Dozens of punches, then hundreds of punches. The Storm Goddess General actually couldn't even hit Tianhe, who could only use 1/10 of his strength after escaping from danger. In terms of the Storm Goddess General's battle prowess, she was at least one of the top 3 beasts. However, when she attacked Tianhe with her fists, she couldn't even injure a single hair on his body. The difference in strength was really too big. In the instant when the Storm Goddess General's attack missed, Tianhe, who was calm and at ease, suddenly swung his elbow. His elbow heavily struck the Storm Goddess General's lower abdomen. Whoosh! Rumble! The Storm Goddess General was smashed into the group of ice mountains like a meteor. She passed through several 100-meter thick ice blocks, but she still couldn't stop. She heavily crashed into the huge wall of the ice mountain in the distance. Her body was deeply embedded into the ice wall. This is the struggle of an ant. When self-righteous humans step on ants, they never thought that humans are just as pitiful as ants in the eyes of gods. Tianhe seemed to be a little dispirited. He looked at the sky with a 45-degree angle with his melancholy eyes. Then he sighed and shook his head in the end. Forget it. The benevolent me will send you on your way. God's punishment is really too cruel for ants like you. Chapter 9:14. Baba. Princess Sisai crawled out of the snow in a sorry state. With one hand supporting herself with the divine sword, she patted off the snow on her body with the other. After spitting out the remaining blood in her mouth, she asked Xiaonu, who appeared out of nowhere in a daze, "Pandora, do all the gods in the heaven realm look like this? I don't remember a lot of the past, but it is impossible for such an idiot to have a god spark." Pandora, who was in Xiaonu's body, immediately denied. There is actually such an ant. Godly power, not bad. This is the arrangement of fate. Tianhe's eyes widened. At this moment, he realized that Xiaonu's body actually contained an extremely pure, godly power. Although he couldn't figure out what kind of power it was the best tonic for him after he regained his freedom. As long as he killed this woman and absorbed the godly power in her body, not only would he be able to recover to his peak, he might even be able to break through and reach the true divine sovereign realm. possessing a true god spark. The more Chi Tianhe thought about it, the happier he got. If he could obtain such pure, godly power, the god spark he would be born with would probably not be low. If he could become a true god, then it wouldn't be difficult to open the god's ruins. Once he obtained all the martial souls, divine blood, divine senses, and god sparks in the god's ruins, he might be able to become the highest god. After becoming a divine master, whether it was the sky-reaching tower, the heaven realm, or the heaven realm, wouldn't they all belong to him? Ha ha ha! Divine Master, how bright is my future! As he thought about it, Chi Tianhe couldn't help but laugh wildly. So scared, Xiaonu saw Chi Tianhe's appearance and was so scared that her whole body trembled. Pandora, however, comforted her. Don't be scared, this guy's actually a very retarded gorilla. Although I can't feel other things clearly, one thing is clear. He will die soon, and he will die very miserably. When Chi Tianhe heard this, he couldn't even pretend to be sacred anymore. He was so angry that his veins bulged. How did he look like a gorilla? Absorbing your godly power is your honor. But you, a mere ant, actually dared to speak arrogantly and blaspheme a god? You even dared to predict the death of a god? How could God die? Unless one was a god, no one could kill a god. He, who possessed a divine body, had been sealed in an ice mountain for tens of thousands of years, and now he was completely fine. In a situation where no one could threaten him, he still dared to say such ridiculous words. These ant-like humans were the real idiots. Forget it, there was no need to be angry with an ant. Chi Tianhe thought for a while and sneered. A disdainful expression reappeared on his face. He didn't know that Pandora was once the most terrifying goddess of misfortune in the heaven realm. Her ability to predict death was unparalleled. After she predicted Yu Yang's death, Yu Yang, who was like an unkillable cockroach, almost lost his life. The fearless Chi Tianhe had already viewed the divine power within Xiaonu's body as a timely supplement. He was only left with the question of how to absorb it. Princess Sisai was speechless. When this Chi Tianhe was thinking and getting angry, he looked a bit like a gorilla. This gorilla is so scary. Xiaonu was almost scared to tears. I say, third young master, your precious maid is about to be snatched away by someone, and you're still pretending to be dead. Aren't you bored? Princess Sisai couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, I'm being wrongly accused. I'm not pretending to be dead. It's just that the immemorial rune is too difficult to fuse. Everyone thought that it was an ancient rune, but who knew that it was an immemorial rune? You also know that just the ancient rune is enough to choke me. Immemorial rune, that's even more. No matter how much I calculated, I still miscalculated this point. If it wasn't for the Chi Tianhe who exploded the ice mountain and helped me, I might not even be able to fuse it completely. Look at how hard he worked and helped us. If we don't give him a chance to act cool, it would be unjustifiable. Yu Yang drilled out from the ice mountain. He was completely naked, but there were countless mysterious runes flickering on his skin. However, this brat came out just like that and didn't have the slightest bit of self-awareness. He ran over like a wisp of smoke and hugged the trembling Xiaonu. He comforted her gently. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Actually, the gorilla is very easy to deal with. Just throw a few bananas over. Look, you're courting death. When Chi Tianhe saw that this brat really threw bananas at him, he couldn't help but tremble with anger. Who's a gorilla? Is there a gorilla like me? Roar, roar. Princess Sisai laughed until she bent over. After experiencing life and death, she didn't care about Yu Yang's naked appearance. Mistaking the immemorial rune as the ancient rune was so serious that it was already good enough for him to come back alive. She ignored Chi Tianhe, who was condensing the scarlet sky, divine fire to attack. She opened her arms and hugged Yu Yang tightly. Scoundrel, you scare me to death. I already said that it was dangerous to run into the seal, but you insisted on taking the risk. Fortunately, you're fine. While she was helping Yu Yang to put on his clothes, she took the opportunity to inspect his body. She realized that the energy of the immemorial rune was fusing into his body like a brand, and it hadn't even completely fused into his skin. She couldn't help but rejoice. Fortunately, Yu Yang was able to successfully fuse the immemorial rune. Otherwise, the entire plan would have been ruined because of this accident. Princess Sisai reached out her hand and gently caressed the rune circle on Yu Yang's skin. Yu Yang frowned and said, "Don't touch it. It's very painful." Princess Sisai then found out that Yu Yang actually didn't finish fusing the rune circle. He was worried about her safety and ran out in a hurry. "This scoundrel, let me tell you a good way to stop the pain. Once you die, it won't hurt anymore." Of course, this sentence wasn't spoken by Princess Sisai, but by Qi Tianhe, who was watching with eyes that were burning. He had already condensed the scarlet heaven divine fire that was as bright as the sun. He carefully avoided Xiaonu's delicate body and clawed at Yu Yang's neck with his fire claw. "That's right, but how did you think of it?" Yu Yang had a very surprised expression and seemed to be questioning whether orangutans also had this kind of intelligence. "Die." Qi Tianhe couldn't bear it anymore. The fire claw instantly grabbed onto Yu Yang's neck. He exerted his strength ruthlessly and decided to squash this kid to death like a little chick. No, like squashing an ant to death. In his entire life, he had never hated someone so much. This kid was so vile that he hated him from the bottom of his heart. If he didn't kill this kid, he wouldn't be happy even if he became a divine master. Yu Yang didn't have any fear in his eyes. Instead, he had the calmness of a decisive battle against a strong enemy. With a shake of his hands, he sent Princess Qian Qian and Xiaonu flying 1,000 meters away. Behind him, little one Li appeared. Her eyes widened in anger. Her binding innate skill, which wasn't inferior to the light belt of sealing power, caused Qi Tianhe, who was grabbing onto Yu Yang's throat, to become sluggish. At the same moment, the storm goddess general, who was originally buried in the snow on the ice mountain, appeared behind Qi Tianhe. Her two fists collided and heavily smashed onto Qi Tianhe's ears. After half a second, Qi Tian had already struggled free from Xiao when Li's binding chain's inherent skill. He furiously shook his head. He angrily shook his head and forcefully used his protective divine power to push the storm goddess general away. He grabbed onto Yu Yang's throat with one hand and said with eyes full of ridicule, "I say, little worm, insignificant ant, what other tricks do you have?" Yu Yang revealed a smile on his face. "Let alone the fact that you aren't the legendary deity. Even if you are, I will still explode you. It's not bad to have power, but at the same time, one must also have a strategy. Most importantly, one must have a clear mind that recognizes one's own power. I know what I have, but you're just a gorilla with empty power." After Qi Tianhe heard, his face twisted. He had never seen such a person before. His throat was being grabbed and was about to die, but he still dared to be so arrogant. "Go and die." Qi Tianhe couldn't talk to Yu Yang anymore. He was afraid that if he spoke, he would go crazy. The person in front of him was simply a madman. When he was about to use the Scarlet Sky Divine Fire to burn Yu Yang's body and turn him into ashes, Qi Tianhe suddenly felt a wave of heat. Was his hand burned? How was this possible? He was Qi Tianhe, who possessed the Scarlet Sky Divine Fire. However, in the next second, he no longer had any doubts. He saw that the body of this kid in front of him was burning with a flame that no other flame in this world could compare to. Nirvana's flame. The true number one flame in the world. Even if it was the Scarlet Sky Divine Fire, compared to this flame that could truly burn and purify everything, it was still a low-grade existence. Qi Tianhe's heart was filled with extreme jealousy. He possessed the eternal wheel and fused with the immemorial runes. Wasn't this not enough? He even possessed the Nirvana's flame. This ant-like human had obtained even more than he, a deity, had obtained. This was simply too unfair. Why was it that a human, such an insignificant existence, could possess the world's number one flame? Even if he possessed the Nirvana's flame, he would still kill him. If the Scarlet Sky Divine Fire couldn't burn him, then he would use his godly power to directly break his neck and smash his brain into pieces. What a joke! Yu Yang shook his head, and the power of the minor precepts erupted. Qi Tian's fiery hand was like 100,000 strong men turning their fingers. Bit by bit, it bent backward and released Yu Yang's neck. Yu Yang extended his right hand, which was burning with the Nirvana's flame, and reached out to grab Qi Tian's throat. Don't think that you're the only one who possesses godly power. I possess an even stronger primal chaos energy and world origin energy. In my world creation domain, no one, including deities, can break my neck before I lose consciousness. You don't understand what a sovereign's will is. You are merely a nouveau riche who obtained God's blood and God's flame. Qi Tian's left hand grabbed onto Yu Yang's arm and forcefully pulled it. He quickly waved his right arm and formed a fist, striking Yu Yang's lower abdomen. In a second, he had already delivered 100 heavy punches. Yu Yang's body didn't move a single inch. His right hand moved in a reverse grip, and the instant his lower abdomen was hit, his left hand didn't make any defense. He similarly clenched his fist and hurriedly waved it. Under Qi Tian's astonished gaze, Yu Yang blasted out 100 punches toward Qi Tian's face. Boom! The two of them stood upright like mountains. However, the two waves of heavy punches that didn't put up any defense caused a shockwave that dispersed all the ice and snow within a range of 10,000 meters. Their might was even more terrifying than a hurricane passing through. Princess Sisai held on to Xiaonu and retreated again and again. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop her footsteps. Qi Tian's eyes turned red like a bulldog's. He couldn't bear the humiliation that the enemy had brought him. When he struck the enemy actually struck back at him. Furthermore, the target of his attack was his own face. This was truly an unprecedented humiliation and humiliation. Vacuum divine explosive bomb. Qi Tianhe made a mysterious hand gesture and compressed a certain kind of unparalleled power within his body without limit. Finally, he pushed it onto Yu Yang's chest. This was a godly power ultimate skill that could destroy an entire mountain range. If it wasn't for the fact that Qi Tianhe was extremely furious and humiliated, he wouldn't have used it during normal battles. This was one of his 3 secret trump cards. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.